It is 6 p.m. And the Nashua Board of Education is currently meeting via Zoom due to the pandemic. I don't have my little script here today. So let me see if I can find one. As president of the Nashua Board of Education, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting. However, we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. To access the Zoom meeting, please refer to the agenda or the district's website for the meeting link. And I've said that, but I don't actually have it. Ms. Kinsella, do you have the number for this evening?
I'll get that for you.
Okay, thank you. As soon as we get it, we will read it out loud. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing this meeting through public postings. Instructions have also been provided on the Nashua School District's website at www.nashua.edu and publicly noticed at City Hall. Let's start the meeting with roll call attendance. Mr. Guarino, could you take attendance? And please, when you state that you're here, please also state whether there's anyone in the room with you during this meeting as required under the right to know law. Okay, Mr. Guarino.
Thank you, Madam President. Raymond Guarino is here and I'm alone in the room. Paula Johnson.
Here, alone in the room.
Sandra Ziem.
I'm here and also alone in the room.
Jennifer Bishop.
Here and also alone in the room.
Sharon Giglio.
Here and alone in the room.
Jessica Brown.
Here and alone in the room.
Heather Raymond.
I'm here and I'm alone in the room.
Dotty Oden.
Here and alone in the room.
Gloria Timmons.
Here, alone in the room.
Okay, also with us, we have Dr. Mosley.
Here and alone in the room.
Dr. McKinney.
Here and alone.
Mr. Parker.
Here and alone.
Shawn Smith.
I'm here and I'm home alone.
Mr. Donovan.
Here alone and happy to be that way.
Ms. Marsha Bagley.
I'm here and I'm alone.
Ms. O'Gara.
I'm here all alone.
Mr. Gao.
I'm here and alone at the moment.
Mr. Norris.
Here and alone.
And I believe that's everyone. And we also have Mr. Weeks with us, Mr. Dan Weeks.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Guarino, Ms. Kinsella.
You can tune in or do public comment through the phone number 1-877-853-5257. The meeting ID is 897-8150-2952. And the passcode is 660379.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kinsella. I will repeat that again as we get to the public comment portion of our meeting. I have a couple of housekeeping procedural things that I'd like to start off the meeting with. The board had some training recently on governance and running meetings efficiently on this Zoom platform because it can be a little bit overwhelming. And one of the suggestions was that we make an agreement that each member only speak twice on any issue. We've done that in the past and it's been very effective. So I'm asking if there are any objections to members agreeing to only speak twice on each issue that comes up. I don't see or hear any objections. Okay. The second item of housekeeping that was proposed during the meeting, the training, and I'd like to try it, was that I use a rotating alphabetical list for calling on people to speak instead of having people raise their hands or use the chat, because it's a lot of going back and forth. And hopefully this will help me to keep track of only speaking twice. Does anyone have any objections to me trying this out this evening? Okay, excellent. So that is how I will run the meeting, and I'm going to go alphabetical and just keep rotating it, I guess. So having said that, Dr. Mosley, do we have a presentation this evening? No, okay. I thought maybe I had missed something. All right, then that moves us right along to the consent agenda. I would be looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda, or if someone has something they'd like to take off.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Oden. Thank you, Ms. Giglio. Does anyone have anything to say? Oh, I'm going to ask. Actually, does anyone have any objection to moving right along to voting on the consent agenda? Okay, good. I didn't want to go through the whole roll for this if I didn't have to. All right, Mr. Guarino, could you call the roll on the consent agenda?
Okay, on the motion to approve the consent agenda, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Giglio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dotty Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Thank you very much, Mr. Guarino. Okay, we have no items removed from the consent agenda. Does anyone have any communications outside the consent agenda this evening? Okay, I don't see any. The next item on our agenda is public comments relating to items on this agenda only. And just for the public, again, that number is 877-853-5257. The ID is 897-8150-2952. And the passcode is 660379. Ms. Kinsella, do we have anybody in the waiting room now?
We do not.
If people are willing, I'd like to skip and go ahead and let Dr. Mosley make his superintendent's comments. And then if there are people in the waiting room, we can circle back to the public comment period. Does anyone have any objection to that? I see no objections. Okay, Dr. Mosley.
Good afternoon, good evening, everyone, on this chilly Monday. I'll just start right off with some really positive news here. For those of you who are not aware, we've have made a concerted effort to continue to support our ELL kids and also our faculty as well. And so over the last, since I've been here 4 years, we have been hiring more ELL teachers. I start off with that because I just really wanted to take a moment to acknowledge Danielle Booten, who was chosen as Teacher of the Year in New Hampshire. I can't tell you what a honor that is, just to hear that. A great accomplishment coming from Danielle and her family, but also I say the Led Street family as well. Chaz, his team, Danielle. I mean, the competition for this award was fierce to just begin with, and to be very honest with the public, I actually heard about it from another administrator from Manchester who happened to be at the event, and she was very impressed with Ms. Booten, with her work with ELL, her ability to connect with kids, not making her classroom a classroom, but actually making her classroom like a community. And so I just wanted to say thank you so much to her accomplishment, her family. I think this is a really big deal. At some point, I'd like to invite her to the board to come and just so people know just the great work that has occurred here in the district. So thank you so much. Congratulations, Danielle, and to you and to the Lead Street family and to actually Nashua and more importantly, the kids. You are so lucky to have a teacher like that. Just jumping really quickly to our intensive special education programs are in hybrid mode right now. Sorry, Tara, get your, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted. Be serious. Special education and I'm sorry. Special education, I'm gonna have to, thank you, thank you. Special education intensive programs, hybrid, are K through 12 are active right now along with our preschool. I wanna thank those teachers, administrators for making that happen. I know it hasn't been easy, but certainly I just appreciate all your work. But I also wanna just take a moment to the food service workers and to the bus drivers and to our transportation department. You're doing a really nice job and thank you for making it happen. It's always literally always moving parts, but we seem to make it work during this time. On November 1st, we'll have our grade 1 hybrid in-person begins as well. And you'll get more information. I'm talking to the public. Your principals will be reaching out to you. Elementary principals will be reaching out to parents to just give the final details to all of that building base. I just also wanted to give people an update that on our website, we've got it's been there, but we're trying to refine it in a way that's user-friendly. We find that as more of we start to phase in our in-person learning, questions like what happens if a student gets sick or faculty gets sick. And so we've made it a point to just rearrange our website so that that information is easier to find. And so please find that information on our website, click on that. And I just want the public to know that in event that we do have a case, we work very collaboratively with Bobby Bagley and the public health department, along with the state, and just making sure we do contact tracing. And just to note that it's not a 5-day-a-week job, it's actually 7 days a week. And thank you to the city and Bobby Bagley and her staff for really being responsive. As soon as we reach out to them, they're immediately getting back to us and contacting those individuals that could potentially be, affected. I just wanted to talk a little bit to the public around some things around what's available to our kids and to our family members during this time. Flu shots is a flu clinic, Tuesdays 3 to 6 and Friday mornings 10 to 12. And it's located on Elm Street, right in front of the middle school there. Please, it's really helpful and it's free that you go out and you get your flu shots. That's both for our kids and for our parents as well. I also want to say that every Tuesday from 3 to 5, there is free COVID testing sponsored by the Nashua Public Health Department. And you can get that at the Elm Street lower level parking garage. It is also a drive-up program, but walk-ins are always available. I'm saying this verbally. We will put this on our website so that people can access it as well. And if you're looking just to make sure to beat the lines, please reach out. And you can also call. The number is 603-589-3456. And again, these are free COVID tests that are given out to Nashua residents and families if they feel like they're sick or just want to get tested. Just to kind of give people like what's on the docket here for the next meeting, we're wrapping up our fall sports. Congratulations to our coaches, our kids. And I don't want to keep, I'm not going to say it because then I feel like I jinxed myself, but we've been very, very successful in making sure that our kids have stayed safe. We're actually in playoff mode right now. And so that's a really nice thing. Again, I can't tell you the work that Lisa Gingras and her faculty have done to make this happen. With that said, it's getting cold out there, and with the cold weather, we have winter sports coming up as well. And so the board and the public will hear Lisa's plan or our plan and how we're going to facilitate winter sports this coming year. I also want to acknowledge our marching bands and other extracurricular activities that are happening in the district as well. Congratulations to those kids. We appreciate, under the circumstances, the teachers and the parents for making it work. I feel like it's been a hybrid of our extracurricular activities, but I just want to say thank you to all of the hard work that everyone has put in to make this come to fruition. There's a number of items. It's a heavy agenda tonight in terms of our committee work, finance and operations. Dr. McKinney and Ms. Brown are going to talk about curriculum and evaluation. Policy is going to meet on Wednesday. That would be Mr. Parker and Ms. Bishop that are going to talk about some policies. And so, you know, with that said, even though we are in a hybrid, feels like a hybrid model of the school year, we actually are up and running. Moving forward, certainly as we start to embark on the end of the year, we're right on the precipice of our budget season. And so certainly we're going to start to do an evaluation on what our needs feel and look like, particularly in this environment as we start to create our budget for next year. That's it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mosley. And giant congratulations to Danielle Booten at Lead Street. That is an amazing accomplishment, and we are so lucky to have you. Oh, sorry, there's a big beep in my background. Ms. Kinsella, do we have people in the waiting room now?
Yes, we do. I will
Okay. Let's proceed then. Good evening. Hi, good evening, caller 8413. If you could identify yourself, please, and try to limit your comments to 2 minutes or less.
Absolutely. Hello, my name is Wendy Keefe of Nashua, New Hampshire. I am the parent of a senior for the class of 2021. This is not my first, nor will it be my last phone call into the Board of Education meeting. I have gone over your agenda. Again, what I see missing is the lack of preparedness for what you are planning to do for the seniors. They are, as I have said numerous times in numerous emails, they are launching into life. I have heard from many board members that understand our situation, but you as a board, as a whole, as a body, are not addressing their immediate needs. I am so grateful that you are addressing special education. I'm so grateful that you're addressing kindergarten and grade 1. Our next critical group are the seniors. I want to see a plan of when you're going to get them back as the next group to go back. I want to see a plan on what you are going to do with them regarding their upcoming life events, so that they are not falling behind even more than you are already putting them in that position to do. I want to know, as a board, are you going to write a letter that is going to go with every college senior saying that you are denying them the right to their education in person, face to face with their teachers, and that they will be far behind their contemporaries in neighboring towns, not to mention other cities and states across this nation? I want to see a plan implemented now about what you're going to do come the end of the year for them, so they're not in a horrible situation that last year's seniors were in. I plead, I beg with you, I've done this before and I've yet to see any action taken, and I would like that to change. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you. Just a reminder to our callers that we do need to keep the comments at this time focused on items that are on our agenda. There is a comment period at the later end of our agenda where people can comment on any item they want.
We're all set for right now.
Oh, okay then. Well, should have waited. Okay, great. Thank you very much, Ms. Kinsella, and thank you to our parent who called. Circling back, the next item on the agenda is the board response to the superintendent's comments. And I'm going to use my little chart I made to go around. Ms. Bishop?
You snuck up on me.
So alphabetical last name.
Well, no, I figured that, but I just wasn't ready for it. No, I actually have no comments tonight.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Brown?
Thank you. I would actually like to offer my congratulations also to Ms. Booten. That's fantastic for our district to have a wonderful teacher and get that commendation. So thank you for letting us know that, Dr. Mosley.
Thank you. Mr. Guarino?
Thank you, Madam President. I don't have a lot to say, but I just wanted to reiterate congratulations to Ms. Booten for Teacher of the Year, and ask the parents for their patience as we as we start to transition our students back into the classrooms. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moreno. Ms. Gilio?
Hi, I just want to, I had the pleasure of working with Danielle Booten for 5 months at Ledge Street a couple of years ago, and her dedication is unparalleled. She deserves this award so much, and the difference she makes in the lives of the ELL students and their families at her school is amazing. And then I would also like to thank Dr. Mosley for all of those helpful updates and for putting things right on the website where they're easy to be found. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gilio. Ms. Johnson?
Thank you. My congratulations to Ms. Booten. And also, when we get down to the end of the agenda, I'd like to talk about what our parent just said about the seniors. So I'm going to leave that towards the end. I think it's going to tie in when we talk about the committee on pandemic education committee update. I think this is something that can work very well into that, hopefully. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Ms. Oden?
Yes, I too would like to congratulate Danielle Booten. That's quite an honor to be the New Hampshire State Teacher of the Year. So congratulations to her and her lucky students and families in the Ledge Street community. And I'd like to also congratulate Lisa Gingras, the coaches, and our athletes for a successful fall season. I think we had some games canceled or matches canceled because other schools had problems, but I think Nashua has done very well. And I think it's because Ms. Gingras had such a detailed plan for our athletes. We knew exactly what was going to happen, and our students and coaches did, and it seemed like it was a big success. So thank you very much, Ms. Gingras and all of our coaches and athletes.
Thank you, Ms. Oden. Ms. Timmons? Oh, Ms. Timmons, you're on mute.
I too like to congratulate Ms. Booten for the Teacher of the Year. I have two over at Ledge Street. I know her work is phenomenal. Thank you very much. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Timmons. Ms. Zine? Ms. Zine, I think you're on mute.
It says you're muted by the host.
Oh, you're talking now. I can hear you.
Okay. I just wanted to add to what they were saying about the Teacher of the Year award that Mrs. Booten won. But I have to tell you, we have so many wonderful teachers in Nashua that it almost breaks my heart to have to single one out, because I'm so afraid the others will fear that we don't recognize the sacrifice that they all make for the betterment of our kids. And for that, I'm eternally grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Zine. And I just want to echo Ms. Oden and Dr. Mosley. Big congratulations to our student athletes. They really buckled down. They performed under really unusual circumstances, and they did it with grace. And I was really impressed with everybody this season. So thank you to them. Okay, the next item on the list are the student member of the board comments. Mr. Gao.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Raymond. Just like a quick update on what's going on in schools. Today, actually, the Board of Education representative election at South has just kicked off, and there's 4 candidates, which is 2 times the candidates last year. So even though we're remote, even though we're not together, people are still they still care about this. People are still really excited, and that's been good news. I was looking through the board packet and also wanted to mention a few things. I noticed there's some letter about webcams, and there's a question that says, what will we do with the webcams when all this pandemic stuff is over? In my opinion, I just think the role that webcams will play in a hybrid model is so critical, it's so significant that even if they aren't even used at all, after the pandemic, that it's still a necessary purchase, still a necessary investment. But that being said, I do believe, it was mentioned in the letter, for parent-teacher conferences, webcams can be used. If a student's absent or sick at home, they can always use the webcam. So I do think that they can be used beyond the pandemic. Another quick thing, the pandemic education committee. As a student, I know like whenever a teacher assigns like group work or something, I'm always so excited because it means I get to work with other students, divide and conquer. So like, just like, I guess like in general, like, of course, like I think like having a committee that's just dedicated 100% on education could be really effective. But of course, I don't know much about like how this may affect policy or anything. So maybe I'm not the best person to speak on that end. But just from purely like helping the education, helping us improve that aspect, I think it would be great. One final thing, it was brought to my attention actually by a friend, like really just how easy it is nowadays in the remote setting to miss out on classes. I noticed like people are really missing consistently sometimes a lot of classes, and they've kind of just been getting away with it, which of course is like, I guess things like that will happen, but I think it would be great if somehow we as a district could reach out to those people, like on the screens, like we're all like, you know, put together, we look like, you know, pretty like held together, but I think like always behind the mask, like behind the screens, like students are dealing with their own things, and it'll be great maybe if we as a district can do something about that, just getting them encouraged to come back into class and everything. So that's it for my talk, I guess. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Gao. Mr. Norris?
Thank you. So I just got a few comments. So we also have our elections going on. I think the election is this Friday. I have nothing specific on the agenda, but I just wanted to say I'm so happy with how fall sports went. Today was actually our last game. Unfortunately, we lost in the playoffs. But I was kind of just so happy with even getting the opportunity to play, because I know where we were just cooped up inside pretty much for the whole spring, and it was the whole fall and the whole spring, basically. It was kind of nice to see friends, start playing, get some competition in. It was kind of reminded you of what it used to be. So hopefully we can continue that into other facets of our education. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Norris, and thank you, Mr. Gao. So I'm excited to hear how the elections turn out, and to hear what Ms. Gingras has to say next meeting about fall sports. Okay, the Committee on Budget hasn't met as of late. Committee on Finance and Operations, Ms. Oden and Mr. Donovan, you have a lot for us this evening. So take it away, please.
We do have a lot, and I think that's why Mr. Weeks is here, because the first motion is to accept the Pennachuck Middle School solar power proposal from Revision Energy.
Second.
Okay. And Mr.
Did you wish to speak to it, Ms. Oden, or have?
Well, I think Mr. Weeks is here to speak to it, or Mr. Donovan. Mr. Weeks, if you'd like to speak to it briefly, to update the board members that maybe didn't get a chance to watch our meeting, that would be appreciated.
Good evening. I would be happy to. I'm also mindful that you have a full agenda, so perhaps you could advise what level of detail I could give a 1-minute overview, or I could provide a much more detailed presentation, which many of you have seen earlier iterations of, whatever would be helpful.
I'm going to jump in and say the 1-minute speed version, because we have seen your presentation earlier this year for the Dr. Chris project, and also, now I'm forgetting, Fairgrounds?
Fairgrounds as well, yes.
So, yep, so we've seen it a couple times. So if there are any highlights or changes for Pennachuck that we need to be aware of, but the presentation and everything is on our website from the Finance Committee meeting a couple weeks ago.
Very good. Well, let me briefly say, first of all, as a Nashua resident here on 7 Shattuck Street, with 3 young kids, not yet in Nashua Public Schools, but looking forward. I so appreciate your service, all of you as members of the Board of Education and the district. It's been a privilege for Revision Energy, a local employee-owned solar company, to work with first the city of Nashua after an extensive RFP process, and now with the school district. completing now the first 2 installations, which were presented and approved by the board early this year. Those are Fairgrounds and Dr. Crisp. And as I've mentioned to the committees, we would be very happy to provide a tour. Not the best weather today, but we would certainly love to show you, anyone interested, those completed systems, which will be turned on soon. And we were grateful to be approached by Dan Donovan and Shawn Smith to prepare designs for Pennachuck Middle School, which will be undergoing renovations similar to Fairgrounds next year. Happily, although the tax credit is reduced from last year, that's a scheduled step down, which the Impactor partner takes in order to avoid any capital cost for the district. They finance the system, district simply buys them for less than they would otherwise pay the utility. And although that tax credit did step down, we were able to come up with a slightly lower cost of energy because there's some additional. It's a fairly large system, comparable in build to the Fairgrounds project. So 8.75 cents per kilowatt hour as the committee has reviewed, and it would provide savings to the district with no capital cost, and like the previous projects, the opportunity to acquire the array after 5 years and realize greater savings. Again, Revision is very privileged to get to work with the district, and we hope, in addition to providing cost savings on electricity and environmental benefits, that we can also engage students as they may be interested in learning and educational and future work opportunities as we see growth in the clean energy sector. So thank you very much, and happy to answer any questions that there may be.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Weeks. Mr. Donovan or Ms. Oden, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't.
No, other than just to make sure everyone knows there is no cost to us to get this started. It's green energy. We can hopefully save some money if we choose in the 5 or 6 year period or any time thereafter to purchase and potentially save more. It's totally up to us. We don't have to do it. And there is a 25-year warranty on the panels. And while the owner owns the array, they will cover any damage or issues with the solar array. So generally speaking, it's very low risk for us. And I think generally it's a good thing to do.
Thank you, Mr. Donovan. I'm going to follow my list and go around to see if anyone has a comment. Ms. Brown?
I think this is a great idea. I'm all for it. Thank you.
Mr. Guarino?
Thank you, Madam President. Climate change is a big deal, and it's very important that we do our part. And not only do we help the environment and cut down on air pollution, but we're also saving money for the district. So I think it's a great idea to go solar, and happy to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Gilio?
I am completely in support of this.
Ms. Johnson?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Oden? No,
I completely support it.
Ms. Timmons?
I completely support it as well. Thank you, Mr. Weeks, for the 1 minute.
Ms. Ziem? Oh, Ms. Ziem, you're on mute again.
I support it. Can you hear me now?
Yes, wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Bishop?
I have nothing to add, but I support it.
Okay. Mr. Norris, did you have anything to say on this topic?
I'm all right, thanks.
Okay. Mr. Gao?
I'm all right as well. Thanks, though.
Okay. Did anyone wish to speak second time on this? I don't think we have a robust discussion on this matter. All right, Mr. Guarino, could you take the roll, please?
Okay. Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dotty Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Okay. I move to approve in the amount not to exceed amount of $210,000 for the roof repairs for Pennachuck Middle School using the deferred maintenance account 91.1075.91.20.01.
Second.
I just want to throw in there, thank you, Mr. Weeks.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so the motion was by Ms. Oden, seconded by Ms. Gilio. Does anyone have anything that they would like to say on this before I go through the whole list? No? No. Go ahead, Ms. Brown.
Thanks. I just had one question. Was this a general maintenance for the roof repairs, or is this a something like that was acute to fix? Is it something fixing a problem, immediate problem, or was it a long-term part of the plan? Mr. Smith.
Please jump in there, Mr. Smith.
Okay, thank you. Yes, so this is, the roof is actually, section of the roof we're replacing is original to the school. So that's circa 1988. It's held up, but it is definitely overdue to replace. And this is very much tied into the last presenter and the last project you just approved with solar. We want to put the solar on the entire flat roof of the school. This section that we would do with this is basically between the classroom wings, flat section. And as you know, the middle school project is progressing. We're doing pretty well with our contingency. As of this week, we still have in excess of $7 million in contingency. But the Pennachuck project in and of itself has about 1.2. And we, if you paid attention to the construction project this past week, we have at least $1 million of other mechanical related projects that we're hoping to get done. And Alderman Dowd actually came up with the idea to, since he is very much responsible for the $460,000 we received for deferred maintenance, that we could cover this to start with, and that would freeze the price for us and allow us to move forward, and then allow the solar panels to be installed. The hope is by the time we start receiving invoices that the middle school project being much more in focus, and we'll have a better idea of where the contingency stands. And at the end of the day, contingency will pay for this instead of deferred maintenance. So Ms. Brown, I hope that was a roundabout way of answering, but
No, I appreciate that. I was questioning whether it was related, how much it was related to the middle school project. You answered it perfectly. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Thank you, Ms. Brown. Anyone else? Okay. Mr. Guarino, whenever you're ready with the roll.
Okay, on the motion to approve $210,000, not to exceed $210,000 for roof repairs for Pennachuck using deferred maintenance. Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
No.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dotty Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
I have 8 yeses, 1 no. Motion carries 8-1.
Move to approve the Smart Start program at Amherst Street Elementary School with Eversource.
I second it.
Seconded by Ms. Timmons. Okay. I've already given up on my list, unless it seems something controversial. Does anyone have a comment on the Smart Start program? We've done it before with other schools. I don't see any questions. Mr. Guarino?
Okay. On the motion, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dotty Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Okay. Move to approve the IT Insiders quote in an amount not to exceed $54,000 to purchase the necessary amount of webcam based on the request of school principals. Funding to come from the CARES Act grant.
Second.
Okay, seconded by Ms. Gilio. This one I suspect people might have a comment on, so I'll go down the list. Ms. Oden, did you want to speak to it, or Mr. Donovan?
I can just say the quotes were quite a bit lower than what we originally had received last month from Technology. It is a local company that we have worked with before, and I just think for the position we're in now and what we could be facing, I think it's a wise investment from the CARES Act.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Donovan.
Yeah, if I could just add on, you'll notice the structure of the motion is that we're not going to necessarily buy 1,000 if we don't need 1,000. We'll reach out to the people. I have noticed through the accounting system and the purchasing system that some schools have purchased some of these already for their teachers. So we don't want to just go out and buy 1,000, but at least the motion makes that amount available. We'll reach out to the principals, find out what the need are, and then we have up to 1,000 to purchase. So I think that gives flexibility to us.
Can I just ask, following up on what you just said, are they getting the same price as what we were quoted from Insiders?
I believe most of them are being purchased from Insiders.
Okay.
So I would hope it'd be close. They possibly could have paid a couple dollars more.
Okay.
I think they're close. Some of them you'll see they're purchasing 5 at a time. So the quantity discount will probably make it a bit cheaper.
Okay, thank you. Because I know the first quote we had, I think, was $169 a camera. So, and I thought that was fairly pricey.
Hi, sorry about that. I just choked on my tea and then had to sneeze several times. So I apologize to everyone who was waiting for me. I am going to go down the list because I think this is one that may be controversial. If you don't have a comment, just pass. There's no obligation to comment. Mr. Guarino?
The only thing I'm going to say is I'm going to support this, and that's all I think I need to say.
Ms. Gilio?
In support, no other comment.
Ms. Johnson?
Thank you. So, Mr. Donovan, how many schools bought this, have purchased these cams already outside of this big purchase?
I don't know exactly. I've just noticed that there have been some. I don't have the detailed figures though.
Okay. And I guess my question is, did they come to you to ask about purchasing this, to see if we would purchasing them, a block of them, a bunch of them, so we can get a good price? Or how that happened?
No, I think they made the purchase earlier in the year when they were preparing for remote learning.
Okay. And we didn't talk about this prior to with all the schools, so we could get an idea of what everybody wanted and needed prior to.
Exactly.
Oh, okay, so we didn't. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Johnson. Let's see, Ms. Timmons?
No comment.
Ms. Ziem? Oh, you're on mute, Ms. Ziem.
I'm in support.
Okay. Ms. Bishop? Okay, no comment there. Ms. Brown?
I just wanted to double check that the memo, this is the same cams we're talking about from the memo from Mr. Rodriguez in the packet, correct?
Yes.
All right. I just want to make, I didn't know if it was 2 separate purchases. Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Gao?
I support this as well, even though I can't vote, but I do.
All right, figured I'd ask. Mr. Norris?
I support this as well. Thank you.
Okay. Does anyone would like a second comment? I don't see any. Okay, Mr. Guarino?
On the motion, Mr. Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Zine,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dotty Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Move to approve the real estate purchase and sales agreement between the Nashua School District and Grace Fellowship Church for the purchase of 55 Franklin Street in the amount of $1,825,000.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Timmons. Okay. Do we need to go person by person? Do people have comments? Okay. Ms. Ziem has a comment.
I just wanted to ask if they did an appraisal on the property or how they came up with that price, if it was negotiated or if they feel it was a good price or whatever.
Yes, it was negotiated. They were asking for a amount higher than that. I did work with Tim Cummings, the city development director. We went over, he's sort of our real estate expert at the city. He felt that the price we're making the offer was a fair price for the property, especially since it's the kind of property that's difficult to find. When we've looked in the past, and I know Mrs. Ziem, you've been on a few of these trips where we're looking for places where we could have schoolrooms and classrooms, it's rather difficult to find buildings. So that made it that much more acceptable to us. But I certainly did negotiate with them. We did pay less than the asking price.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Ms. Johnson?
Yes, thank you. I was very concerned when this came to the committee. I'm still concerned about this, given the affairs of the city right now and the students not being back in school and not knowing what's going to happen somewhat in the future and the cost of this. I've had people call me up and also express their concerns. I'm really on the fence how I'm going to vote for this. So I'm going to surprise myself, I think, when the vote comes up. Yeah, it's one of these days. But I am concerned. I asked a lot of questions in committee and it's still not sitting with me 100% right. I know we've been out there looking for buildings, but the whole thing is that I'm just afraid where we're going, with our students being back in school. And I think it's a lot to start putting on the plates here again. When we hear a parent talking about their student not with graduation this year. So thank you very much.
And
Thank you.
if I can just speak a little to that, to be honest with you, I had a lot of the same concerns when we started this process. But there are a few unique, there's some funding opportunities that became available, one-time funding opportunities that are available to us that won't be available in the future. We also do have the issue of renting space currently for the Brentwood program. That program is going to continue working with Marcia Bagley, the Director of Special Education. The hope is that that program is going to grow. So even if we decided to stay in the rental situation we're in now, we don't have much room to grow. This will give us more time. And the other thing about the timing of this is this allows us to do a lot of the work with our internal staff, because we're not going to be using the building until September of 2021 for students. So we can use internal staff. That will save us a lot of money. Instead of paying, $90 an hour for an outside electrician, let's say, we can use our internal staff to do the work. And we have had the building looked at by an architect. They've shared that information with myself and Mr. Smith. I believe we're both comfortable with what we've received. We still don't have all the dollars and cents attached to it. But we do have enough funds to cover the cost of getting the building in good enough shape so that students can enter it in September of 2021.
Thank you, Mr. Donovan. Ms. Johnson?
Yeah, just one more thing I'd like to bring up because a couple of things. Because at the end of the payment structure, Mr. Donovan did an excellent job. And I appreciate him putting out the payment structure. That's $725,000. And I think you mentioned that if we didn't have it, we could take it from the contingency, the $7 million contingency, if I remember correctly. And that the staff that's right now in the schools, and I guess this is a different subject, but you have brought it up. I mean, so how much are we doing in the schools with our custodian staff that we're an electrician said we're going to be, would we be moving some of the custodian staff over to work on this school too in the interim if we don't have our students back in school? Thank you very much. Appreciate the time.
Mr. Smith, you want to answer the second one there?
Sure. I mean, a lot depends on schedule that you all decide on to bring kids and staff back into the schools. But we do have the capacity at this point to send custodians to this facility to help clean it up. And the same is true of my tradespeople. We always prioritize the work anyway. And if we know we're moving into the building at the end of the summer, then we're going to shuffle our work accordingly. But we've had a great silver lining with all this unfortunate pandemic is we've got an awful lot of work done in the schools. So I believe we're in a good position to be able to now attack a new school.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. And just to clarify, this building is intended to house students who are already when it's done, it'll house the students who have already transitioned back to hybrid. That didn't come out well. Ms. Bagley?
So the students, the preschool programs, the special ed preschool programs and the Brentwood programs, our students are back in our buildings now. So those students, no matter how we return in the next school year, we would plan for them to be in the buildings as well.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Bagley. That's what I was trying to get at inelegantly. Ms. Oden and then Ms. Brown.
Oh, thank you. I just want to say, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Brentwood up on Amherst Street, but we're paying $170,000 for rent just for this year. This is our third year in there. So we probably have spent somewhere close to $500,000 just renting. I see this as a good investment. I think bringing all of our preschools together is a real plus. We can take our staff and we can have a lot of the teachers, occupational therapists, physical therapists, they can be right there in one building. They're not traveling, they're not losing time. There's a chance that we might be able to bring some students back to the district who we now have in out-of-district placement, which saves us money. And if we have openings, we might be able to take in students from other districts. So I just think in the scheme of things, it just had a roof put on it. We were asking about the roof and finance because we were putting a part of the roof on in Pennachuck. Has a fairly new roof and it's in good condition. And it sounds like, I know I was on the committee that was looking for a place for Brentwood. I think that was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. There's not a lot of stuff around here. We had places that we wanted to rent that they said they didn't want students in there. So I think this is a good investment for Nashua. I know it sounds like a lot of money, but everything seems to be a lot of money at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Oden. Ms. Brown.
Thank you. Actually, I'm kind of voicing exactly what Ms. Oden was going to say. I was actually talked with an advocate for the Brentwood facility this week, and she was just saying how it's completely poised for growth. Those kids return to school and they're doing fantastic. They're doing really well. And the newly hired coordinator for over there, it seems to be a really good fit. And hopefully we can afford to keep his salary competitive, keep him around a little bit. And I think initially the staff there was a little bit reluctant to have the Brentwood population and also the preschool kids both in the same facility. But I think after they've seen it and they've seen the structure of the building and the potential there for growth and room for the program, I think the people that are working there are really excited about it. And I think the Brentwood program is something that it services kids that we really need to be giving. I think the goal there is really working, and I think we have some good things. So I'm going to support this. I would rather have our own building that we can build and move around to suit than continue paying rent elsewhere. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I don't see anybody else. So Mr. Guarino, when you are ready, please call the roll.
Okay, on the motion to approve the purchase of the Grace Fellowship Church, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Zine,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dotty Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Okay. Move to approve purchasing Workday Adaptive Budget Software for a one-time development fee of $92,923 and an annual fee of $62,000, funding to come from city-approved escrow accounts.
Second. Okay.
I think Mr. Donovan would be the best person to speak to this.
Yes, this is something that is long overdue. We spend a lot of manual time working on spreadsheets. We have an old database that was put together probably about 20 years ago. It's has lots of issues with accuracy. And in today's world, still being basically a $270 million company, if you look at the city, doing a budget on spreadsheets and PDF files is really rather archaic. So we've been working with the city for the last 2 to 3 years to try to find a software that will help us. So the funding will be coming from escrows that the city has already approved. Going forward, we'll split the cost of the annual subscription between the school and the city. And I think this is the type of software that it does not require a lot of IT intervention, that the accounting people, the finance people can manage this software. It's cloud-based, no need for any servers or hardware at the IT level. And I think it will solve just about every problem we have with budgeting, except maybe one. We may have to do some workarounds to get it. But I think it's something that's probably long overdue. And the plan is that we, the school, will run it parallel with our budget process this year. And that going after that, the city will probably jump on next year and use it to its full extent. So we'll sort of be the test module for the city. And I think it's, like I said, long overdue and really looking forward to having something like this.
Thank you, Mr. Donovan. Do we have people wishing to speak on this? I don't see any hands. Mr. Donovan, you never ask for anything for your own department. So I'm inclined to give you some updated software. Stop making you use this 20-year-old stuff. So Mr. Guarino, when you're ready.
Okay, on the motion, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Zine,
Miss Seema? She's saying yes, but I can't.
okay. Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dotty Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Okay. Move to approve the contract with the Youth Council for Student Assistant Program Counselor for the 2020-2021 school year in the amount of $50,000 from account 91.1.03/041160-55699.
I'd second it.
Thank you, Ms. Timmons. Did anyone wish to speak on this topic? I don't see anybody. I just want to say how much I support this, especially now. We need to be focused on our kids' emotional well-being as well as their academic growth. So I think this is a service that's especially needed right now, which we have every year anyways, but especially this year. Mr. Guarino? Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Ms. Seem, did you have your hand up? No. Okay. Mr. Guarino?
On the motion, Raymond Garino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Zine,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dotty Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Move to approve the contract with the Youth Council for a learning center during remote learning and a suspension center during return to school for middle school students from account 91.1.991110-53600.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Guarino. Do we have questions or comments on this item? I don't see any. Mr. Guarino?
On the motion, Raymond Garino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Zine,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dotty Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Move to accept the fiscal year 21 September transfer report.
Second. Oh, my goodness. I didn't hear who said that first.
Doesn't matter.
Oh, was that Ms. Timmons? Okay. Okay, I don't think this is controversial. Mr. Guarino, can you take the roll?
Okay. On the motion, Mr. Garino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Zine,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dotty Oden, Ms. Oden,
I'm sorry, yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
That's all the motions we have, but I do want to, Mr. Donovan did update us on the CARES Act. As of 10/5, we have spent $1,605,612,050. $612.50. And funds not budgeted yet are $1,668,535.06. So that's just giving you an update of what's left from the CARES Act. And there is a possibility of another $330,000 to potentially, if it doesn't go to private schools, we'll come back and Is that just for us, Mr. Donovan, or is that for all public schools to be divided?
The 330,
Yes.
yeah, that would either go to all of the private schools, or it would all come to us. And like I said at the meeting, it looks like it's all coming to us at this point.
Okay, so that's a good note to end on. Thank you.
Yes, it is. Thank you very much, Ms. Oden and Mr. Donovan. Okay, Committee on Policy meets on Wednesday night. So the next item is the Committee on Curriculum and Evaluation. Ms. Brown and Dr. McKinney?
Thank you. So we had a good meeting this last week on October 20th. And so I'll just go right after it. We wanted to recommend a move to approve the guidance rubric for use during the remote and hybrid instruction during the 2020-2021 school year.
I'll second that. Okay. Did you wish to speak to it, Ms. Brown?
I can give a brief overview. So Dr. McKinney and the district worked with the teacher committee to come up with a good rubric so that administrators at the building level can still follow through and do quarterly reviews of the teachers. And towards the end of the school year, there'll be something to show whether they'll be re-recommended for the next school year. The good thing about this is at each point in the year where they have, I believe it was 4 meetings throughout the year where they're going to be checking in. They can give feedback, positive feedback or negative feedback, and improve the remote learning process and the hybrid learning and in school process as the year progresses.
Okay. Thank you. Did anyone else wish to comment or have a question? Okay, I don't see any. Excuse me, Mr. Guarino?
Okay, on the motion, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dotty Oden, Ms. Oden,
Yes, sorry.
it's okay. Gloria Timmons,
Yes.
motion carries 9-0.
Excellent. Okay. Next, I move to approve the professional development master plan for 2020-2021.
Second.
Okay. The motion is to approve the professional development master plan for 2020-2021, seconded by Ms. Gilio. Do we have any comments or questions on this? Okay, I don't see any. All right, Mr. Guarino, when you are ready.
Okay, on the motion, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dotty Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons, Gloria Timmons, yes. Okay,
She's saying yes and shaking her head, but
yep. Motion carries 9-0.
thank you. Anything else for us, Ms. Brown or Dr. McKinney?
That was all we covered at this last week's meeting. So thank you very much.
Okay, great. Thank you very much to both of you. Committee on Human Resources, Ms. Timmons.
Yes, thank you. I like to spin the rules because the HR committee met earlier today on October 26th. I need a motion to
I'll second.
roll call, Mr. Guarino.
Okay, who seconded that? I'm sorry.
I did.
Okay. All right, on the motion to suspend the rules, Raymond Marino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Zine,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dotty Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Thank you. I'll move to approve the non-affiliated personnel 2020-2021 annual salary increases.
Second.
Okay, that was Ms. Oden that second. Okay.
Yep. Did anyone wish to, actually, Ms. Timmons, do you wish to speak to your motion?
We had the meeting on October 13th, not today during committee. So that's all I need to say, unless Ms. O'Gara would like to speak on that. No.
Okay. Did anyone have any questions or comments? Ms. Johnson?
I can't support this when there are still people out of work right now, and people who did go back to work lost salaries, and I just can't. I have to think about the community right now as a whole. I think this is the wrong time to give any increases to anybody. Thank you.
Roll call, Mr. Carino.
Okay. On the motion, Mr. Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
No.
Sandra Zine,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dotty Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-1.
Okay, thank you. I move to approve the personnel recommendation dated October 26, 2020.
Second.
Did anyone have any questions or comments on this? I don't see any, so
Okay.
go ahead.
On the motion to approve the personnel recommendations, Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Zine,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dotty Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion carries 9-0.
Thank you. That's all I have, Madam President.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Timmons. All right. Do we have any liaison reports this evening? Okay. Seeing none. Moving on to unfinished business. At our last meeting, we had a motion to create a pandemic education committee. In everybody's packet was a scope of the pandemic education committee based on the wording of the motion. I would like to propose, as the president, I typically would assign committee members. I'd like to propose that the chair of this committee be the president of the board, at least for November and December, and then we can do another election in January and reconfigure it if we need to. I'd also like to propose that the assigned committee members be Mrs. Johnson, Mrs. Gilio, with an alternate of Mrs. Brown. So that's where we're at. I have a long list of agenda items that people have already requested. Does anyone have any questions or commentary regarding this? Okay, I'm seeing a couple hands. So given that, I'm going to go with my handy dandy list and just go through everybody, which I put down somewhere in my papers. Okay, so I have next would be Miss Gilio.
No comment.
Okay. Ms. Johnson.
Kind of caught me off guard as I was going through my papers. From what I'm reading on the scope of this, I kind of feel that it wasn't really the whole, maybe I misunderstood what the scope was going to be, but I thought that this committee, we would have more parents participating in this, because I made the comment that I would love to sit down with the parents and with the teachers and see where we have failed in remote and see what we can do to make it better, even with reopening now. Our parents are taxpayers and their children are the investments into this system. And I kind of feel that this is kind of an offshoot of what we had before. But I think the problem is when we had the committees and the committees under the committees and the 13 committees underneath the committees, I'm kind of feeling that the parents weren't heard enough. And I think this is what the parents are so upset about right now, is that they are not being heard. They haven't really participated enough in the reopening, the hybrid, or the remote. And these are their children. And I mean, as I can't ask somebody to know what my children, how they learn, because nobody knows my kids except for me when they were young. So my concern is it's not being modeled to really include the parents into this. And I think that's the biggest thing here, the parents' participation. I mean, some parents might want to, some might not, but I think we need to open it up to allow them to give their comments, and let's hear what they see is so wrong with the remote and see what they would like to see being done for the help of their children. So that's just my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Ms. Oden?
I would just like to say in the third paragraph of the scope, I believe it's the last sentence, unlike other standing committees, the Pandemic Education Committee may allow for public comments on the agenda when the chair determines it is appropriate. So I think parents have an opportunity to speak at those meetings, and they often do at some of the other standing committees on the board occasionally when you have a lot of people there. So I think that gives an opportunity, and I would encourage people to go to the meetings. I don't know if it's going to be Zoom or whatever, but certainly we know that parents want input. And I think Ms. Johnson brings up a good point, but I see that third paragraph in the scope as being an avenue for those parents that would like to speak to the committee directly about what their issues are. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Oden. Ms. Timmons?
Yes, I can agree with Ms. Johnson that we should allow some parents to participate in this as well. Also, I believe that we should have a member from the NTU to give a different perspective so we can have a rounded version on what we need to do in the schools. I think if we have more professional input, as well as the parents, will get a better outcome.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Timmons. Mr. Guarino, I'm going through the list, so I will get to you alphabetically. Ms. Ziem?
I think I've always thought that our school is so big that it would be wonderful if we could afford 2 superintendents, one for the high schools, the middle school and the high school, and one for the elementary. Having said that, I think that because I think that way already anyway, it seems to me that to have a representative from all 3 of those from staff would be good. One from middle school, one from high school, one from elementary, because they're so different. They're very, very different. And you don't really get the whole perspective unless you get all 3. And so I would like to see, I would also like to see a parent from each. Because again, I don't think a parent that has a child in the kindergarten has the same concerns as a parent with a high school, as in the case of our speaker tonight. And I just think representing the whole, to make it equally represented, because they're each, I mean, it doesn't cover everything, but at least it gives us a better shot of getting to that everything. And so I would respectfully request that we consider expanding the inclusion to that extent. And there was something else, but but my memory since I'm getting old is shot. So, I would like to have somebody from the committee come to each of our board meetings and tell us, one of my things is that I am convinced, whether right or wrong, that one of the reasons we haven't been able to go back to class fast enough is because we haven't had the staff to be able to do it. And so I would like to have, I feel like we should know at all times how much staff, how much of a need for staff we have, and whether we're still, whether we're still unable, for instance, with the high school, can we, do we actually have the staff that we could do the high school right now? I don't think we do, but I'm not sure of that. And so I just think it would be nice if at every full board meeting, somebody would at least give us that kind of an update so that we know how many people we have and how many people we need. So I think that was the three things I wanted to cover. My mind came back to me. It goes and comes. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Deem. I'm sorry. Now I've lost my track. Ms. Bishop?
I have a couple of questions in regards to the committee that I'm just a little concerned about. And President Raymond, maybe you already know the answer to this, but how often would this committee meet? And I'm a little concerned with how fast this pandemic is changing and shifting and affecting the community. If we need things to go through committee before they get to the board, are we going to be cognizant of the amount of time that's going to be needed to bring it to the full board for a vote and to allow for administration to do all of the work that they need to do on all of the subject area matters? I'm worried that it's, well, just answer my first question. How many times do you, sorry, do what I said. How many times do you anticipate this committee meeting if we're going to be having 2 full board meetings a month?
So ideally, I would foresee this committee meeting a minimum of monthly. Typically, and I've taken some of the information from the School Boards Association about roles and responsibilities. So administration makes the plans for educating our students. We kind of set the guidelines, administration makes the plans. So the idea is that administration should be coming to this committee and saying, here's the next stage of hybrid. And then all of the questions and comments that we spend 2.5 hours at a full board meeting should be asked at this committee. This committee doesn't prohibit the board from taking up something in an emergency. For example, if we had, 50 kids in North test positive for the virus, we could convene a special Board of Education meeting to talk about, what needs to be done. Or the superintendent could, on his own, follow the New Hampshire School Nurses Association plan about what to do about that. It doesn't necessarily have to go through the committee. But it seems that we spend quite a long time at the full board processing new information about changing conditions that ought to go to committee first. And those questions that we're getting from parents, like, why can't we have full day hybrid? Or what about having, 1 grade from each? Instead of throwing that on administration in a full board meeting, if we have an agenda with a queue of items, this will allow Dr. Mosley to know what the board is interested in having the answers to, and get the answers in a public way and kind of chat about that without having to take it up at a full board meeting. That way, only the things that have been vetted by the committee then come to the full board to be voted on and enacted. Does that answer your question? So at least monthly, potentially more. It really depends on availability of everybody and what's going on in the pandemic.
I'm also worried if we have, so let's say administration does need to react prophylactically in regards to community spread. It doesn't necessarily need to go to committee and then to board for the superintendent to make a wide-based response. Do we need to then, when we review it, does it then need to go back to committee to be vetted and then go into the big board meeting? And if, answer that one first.
I would say no. The superintendent always has the authority to make emergency actions. The committee is not intended in any way to take away the superintendent's authority to do what he needs to do to keep our kids safe. The committee is intended for vetting large changes, like when we have a change to the hybrid plan or the remote learning handbook that's proposed, it should go to committee before it comes to the full board. But if perhaps even the idea, should we officially motion and adopt the New Hampshire School Nurses Association guidelines? I don't think we ever did that because so much has been happening. But if the superintendent needs to act to protect our students, he still has the authority to do that. He can call an emergency board meeting if he needs us. But I think if there are a number of students, for example, testing positive, the principal and the superintendent would be, in charge of making that decision and then informing the board, of the action that they have taken. They don't need our approval, I don't think.
No, they don't. They don't need our approval in regards to emergency stuff, but I'm wondering, does it need to then come back to committee and then so let's say something big happens on Monday, we need to revisit it as a board shortly after that. Does that give enough time to allow everybody to kind of get together and organize their thoughts? I mean, I don't want to, I think administration is going to make the right decision, when it is presented. I just don't want this committee to hold up the process of them being able to move forward as fast as they want to.
I wouldn't think that it would have to go through committee in that case. We have, for example, in policy, if there's an emergency that requires a policy change, you can bypass the policy committee and go directly to the full board. Same thing with HR. Over the summer, we frequently have special board meetings for HR. We don't convene HR and then have to wait till the end of the month. So I view this as the same as some of our other standing committees. For me, the idea of the Pandemic Education Committee is more to investigate some of those questions that we all have that we kind of throw at the superintendent in the heat of the moment during the meeting that don't give him a chance to research and get back to us.
Right. It's rather unfair.
Yeah, I don't like the idea of he doesn't know what we're going to ask because we don't know what we're going to ask till it crosses our minds.
Mm-hmm.
And this would give the superintendent an opportunity to gather his thoughts, create plans, and then bring them to the committee before they come to the full board. For things like if he wanted to accelerate or slow down the returning to hybrid plan, if he wants to make a massive change to the remote learning plan or the hybrid plan, those kinds of things, some of which our parents are asking for. But I think that it should be discussed and vetted by a committee before it comes to the full board. Partly to make these meetings more efficient as well.
And to organize thought processes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I had those couple of questions. I didn't want to, I know adding another committee certainly adds a lot of work for the people who are going to be on it and responding to it, but it can also reduce these board meetings. But I wanted to make sure it wasn't going to be a speed bump in the process of, educational recovery.
I don't know. I think this is an opportunity for us to try something.
Yeah.
We've had not a committee for 6 months, and we all kind of feel like, I personally feel like I never know what the plan is from day to day. Like I have no idea what's going on. It's very difficult for me to keep track of who's going back to school when, and what's this grade's hybrid plan. I'm hoping that a committee will help to organize that.
Mm-hmm.
But if after a couple months we hate it, the board can always make a motion to not do it anymore. There's no rule that we, that we can't do that. Certainly in the history of the board, there have been committees to investigate something, and then the end of the investigation is, we don't know. So I look at this as a good faith effort to try and have a place to look at those items that keep coming up, not at the board level, throwing it on the superintendent in the heat of the moment. So maybe I have a different vision than other people. So anything else?
No, that was it. Thank you for allowing me to pick your brain.
Okay. Ms. Brown.
Thank you, Ms. Raymond. All right, so I have several. I'm a little bit disappointed that I wasn't selected to be one of the primary members of the committee, since I was the one that made the motion. I do think that I would be an effective team player in this avenue. However, moving on from that, I have a couple comments on the scope document that you and Ms. Giglio put together, in some specific wording that I think actually ties the hands of the committee. This summer, the committee kept expanding and getting bigger and bigger, but I don't feel like all the input was actually taken from those committees very specifically. So I want to make sure that all these meetings are open to the public. And there's a line in here where it says, let's see, there's a few lines in the scope of this document. The 1, 2, 3, the third paragraph down, the last sentence, it says, unlike other standing committees, the pandemic committee may allow for public comments when the chair deems appropriate. I actually think we should remove the wording when the chair determines it's appropriate. We could actually just add into that sentence, unlike other standing committees, the pandemic education committee may allow public comments on items on the agenda. That way it wouldn't tie the hands of the public. It wouldn't give undue responsibility on the committee chair.
A second.
Okay. Does anyone want to speak on? I'm going to assume
Thanks.
that
it wasn't actually a motion, but I'll make it one if you want. I had a couple other comments as well, but I think that's good. That's fine.
Okay. I'm going to get lost here. We'll call that a motion since it was seconded, if that's something that you would like to do, Ms. Brown.
Certainly.
Okay. So on that motion to strike when the chair determines it's appropriate. See, this is the thing we need a committee for, so that we can do all this wordsmithing at a committee. I saw Ms. Johnson and then Mr. Guarino.
Yes, thank you. When I read this over, I have a lot of comments on here too. Unlike other standing committees, the Pandemic Education Committee, instead of saying may, will allow. I like the word will allow for public comments on the agenda, period. So you get rid of the may and put the will in there.
So basically, does that do the same thing?
Well, the way it is now, may, that means you can allow them or you don't have to allow them. Will allows them. And you just get rid of when the chair determines it is appropriate, just drop that for public comments on the agenda. And I just leave it like that. Thank you. I'd like to change the motion and add that.
I'll accept the friendly amendment if it's okay with Ms. Seem.
Yep, it's okay with me.
Okay. So I'm just going to include it. So the motion is now to change may to will and strike when the chair determines it's appropriate.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Guarino and then Ms. Bishop.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm not going to support the motion, and I think we're wasting a lot of time trying to do this. I was under the impression that this was going to be a standing committee and treated like our other standing committees. And what we have done in the past with public comment at our standing committees is whether or not we have public comment is up to the committee. So I don't even think we need to say we will have public comment. I mean, I'm not against having public comment, but I think we just leave that up to the committee the way the committee is run. And to give that power to the chair, I think is not in keeping with the way we do things. Basically, the power should go to the committee so that at the time during those committee meetings, the chair can ask the committee whether they want to have public input and where and when at the committee they want to have public input, or whether they want to have it or not. So I think we're we're kind of splitting hairs here. We're kind of micromanaging things. And I'm a little bit, to be honest with you, I'm a little bit, it is in keeping with our practices and policies for the president to appoint committees and the chair, but it's not within our practices to have the president of the board appoint herself as committee of the chair. And I think that some of the members of this board who were on this board before understand how it is. The president is usually an ex officio member of each committee. So I think if we want to be consistent with the way we've done things, I think that we should just, rather than try to direct how the committees, all of us, micromanaging and wordsmithing this, just leave it up to the committee. And the other thing was, I know that in our standing committees, we have members of the general board that go to the committee meeting. So if I'm not on the personnel committee, I can go to the committee meeting, even because I'm on the Board of Education, and still be recognized, even though I won't vote. So I was hoping that this committee was like that also, because as Ms. Brown says, she's disappointed that she wasn't appointed. I also volunteered. I wasn't appointed on this board as a committee member, but that's okay. I was hoping that I could at least go to the meetings and at least have an input. And I would hope that Ms. Brown, as a member of the Board of Education, even though she's not on this committee, would be able to go and have input also, like she does on all her other committees. And I mean, Ms. Ziem and Ms. Oden, who've been here a long time, they know how these committees work, and they could probably tell you better than I can. But I think we should have this committee, if it's going to be like our other standing committees, we should treat it in the same way. And they could tell us better because they've been here longer, and so I don't think we should spend a lot of time wordsmithing this and micromanaging it. So I'm not going to support this, even though I'm not against having. I think the parents and the teachers should have input in this, but I think that should be up to the committee the way they handle it at the time they get together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guarino. I take your point. So a couple of things. Yes, as always, everyone can go to any of the committee meetings, including this one. All board members are welcome. Anyone is welcome. It needs to be public, which means the public can go and watch, or they can, if we're in physical location, or they can watch it on ETV if it is a Zoom meeting. I've already talked to Mr. Johnson over at ETV about making sure that we can get this committee broadcast. So both of those are important things. It needs to be public. That's part of the reason why I would suggest not having teachers or parents as standing members of the committee, because they may not want to be on television all the time. And I don't want to not be able to meet, it's difficult to schedule. Everyone who's working this summer remembers, the more people you add to a committee, the more difficult it is to schedule a time when everyone can meet. So I'd rather just open it up for comments. Regarding appointing myself as chair, I take your criticism to heart. I don't have anybody else that wants to be chair of this who isn't already chair of something else. So that's where we're at.
I'll volunteer.
You're chair of budget for the
Budget isn't even in session. We're not even meeting.
I know, but that's where it's at. So if someone else wants to chair it, I would happily hand it over.
I do.
Again, chair of budget. Ms. Ziem?
I don't have a chair.
Not even meeting.
So if
Not
you
even
would like me to do it,
meeting.
I will do it.
Okay.
But that's not why I raised my hand. I had two comments that I wanted to make. It's two members on this committee, right?
3, a chair and 2. So 3 total.
So it was Paula.
Plus an alternate.
So it was Paula.
Wait, I lost my page.
Sharon Giglio. And I'm sorry.
So I said I appointed myself as chair for
okay.
now. I think we should redo it in 2 months in January, frankly, because I don't want to chair it forever. I just want to get it started. And then Paula Sharon, and Jessica Brown as the alternate.
The other comment that I wanted to make was, it seems to me, and this is actually it's a question we probably should have asked the New Hampshire School Board Association, but it seems to me that when you give out committees or when you give out chairmanships, you always try to make it somewhat even, as what you were saying about if somebody's not chairing something already. That's why I said if you want me to chair this for that 2 months, but it's all right. I was giving you an out, so all I'm doing. Because I mean, the thing I do agree with you is it's only 2 months, and in 2 months we're going to change well, we have the opportunity to change leadership. And so, at that time you could revisit this whole thing. So, but thank you for the clarification on the votes, because I didn't pick up on the 3. And so is Mrs. Brown, she was the alternate then? Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
That's
Point
my
of information,
proposal to make
I
it
chaired
better.
the budget committee and I also chaired policy last year. So I chaired 2 committees before.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Guarino.
First, point of information, a person can chair 2 different committees. Thank you.
I wasn't suggesting they couldn't. I was just saying that it seems to me, in the interest of being fair and in the interest of not overloading any one person, which I think sometimes, if you take too much, we all can only do so much. We all have other lives to live.
No,
And so
I agree. I wasn't criticizing.
the workload is a fair thing and a good thing. That's all I was saying.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry.
So we all agreed to kind of, let's refocus in. There is a motion to change some language. I think Ms. Bishop has been waiting to speak to that motion.
I was just wondering in the wordsmithing of things, if you wanted, like how we have our agenda for public comment for main board meetings, there's a time frame established. Do we want to put that in here as well?
No, I don't. Frankly, I would suggest that whether public comments goes on each agenda or not ought to be something where Dr. Mosley or whoever the administrator is and the chair talk about when they set the agenda.
Okay.
But that's just my personal opinion, and I don't care, people will vote what they want to vote. Ms. Oden had her.
Yes, thank you. I just want to say, I see a difference between a standing committee and a committee of the whole, what the budget is now. Back in the early 90s, that was a committee of 5. And what happened, everybody would go. So what they did is made budget a committee of the whole so that everybody had a vote in that. I see this committee as a little bit different than our regular standing committees. But it kind of surprises me that Mr. Guarino would like to chair it, as he didn't vote for the committee. He voted against it. So I think somebody that at least supports the idea of the committee would be best to chair it. Thank you.
Thank you. So are we ready to take a vote on Ms. Brown's motion to change the wording of paragraph 3? Is it paragraph 3? I'm sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, paragraph 5. Okay, it looks like it. Mr. Guarino, on the motion to change may to will and strike when the chair determines it's appropriate.
Okay, on the motion, Raymond Guarino votes no. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Zine,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dotty Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons, Ms. Timmons. You still?
No.
Okay. I have 2 noes and 7 yeses. The motion carries.
Okay. Right. So I believe that Ms. Brown had the floor and then it kind of turned into a motion and got away with us. So Ms. Brown?
Good catch.
Thank you very much, Ms. Raymond. I appreciate it.
Because I have my chart. so I can go back to.
Thank you. So I actually had a couple other questions specifically related to the scope of this document that I kind of, I guess if maybe I will make it into a motion. Actually, I'm going to make two comments first, and then I'm going to make a motion because it seems like it might be the most efficient way to do this. Talked about making sure the meetings were open to the public. And I would say that this meeting should, or this committee should probably plan on meeting more than just once a month, at least for the next 3 to 5 months. I think we're probably talking minimum 2 times a month. So that we're going to be having something on each of the Board of Education agendas, the full board, that we can bring in front of the full board for both updates and also for, to make sure that this plan is not as vague and has specifics and new measurable data. So I think that's really important that the members plan on meeting very frequently. Let's see. I'm glad that you put in there that the emergency situations, the full board can make changes to the remote hybrid return to school learning plans. I think that's important. There were 2 other places where I think, I didn't know if we wanted to leave in there. It says the committee shall be comprised of 3 board members and at least 1 member of the administration. It does go against the original motion that said 1 member. But that is on, we can discuss that. And then
I'm sorry, you're correct. We should change that simply because it's inconsistent with the original motion. Does anyone have any objection to that?
So how are you going to change it? To what?
It should just say 1 and 1 administrator, because that's what the motion says. That was simply I'm not going to say typo, a mistake. It should be internally consistent.
So, and then my last comment was in the next to last paragraph. I think that there's a piece in there that's actually in bold. It says, will lead to a phased in full reopening of the Nashua Public Schools when it's safe to do so. I actually think we should remove the words when it's safe to do so, not because I'm against people keep staying safe, but because that we don't have anything measurable in our current plan to say what one person deems as safe as opposed to another person deems safe. So I think by putting that in there before we have any advice from the administration or the committee to have added metrics, I think by putting that, it's non-measurable. And so I think we should strike that. So I'm going to make that into a motion. Remove from the next to last paragraph in the sentence, full reopening of the Nashua Public Schools, strike the words when it is safe to do so from the committee document.
I'll second it.
Okay. Does anyone wish to speak on that particular
I'm
motion?
sorry.
Mr. Parker? Oh, I think that was an accident. Ms. Timmons, did you wish to speak on that motion?
Yes, I do. I think that's dangerous. I think that we should get our information from the Board of Health. They could tell us when it's deemed necessary or safe to go back to school. I think we should leave it in there. I will not be supporting to take that out. That is dangerous. We need to look at the totality of everyone and not just some people that want to go back to school. I agree that it's okay for some, but it's not okay for others. And we should leave that on in there and make sure that the appropriate people tell us when it's safe to do so.
Thank you, Ms. Timmons. Did anyone else wish to comment on Ms. Brown's motion?
Would you reread the change again, please?
It's removing the words, changing the sentence to the focus of the Pandemic Education Committee is to work cooperatively with the district administration to research, review, and make recommendations to the full Board of Education on the factors which lead into the phased-in full reopening of the Nashua Public Schools. Currently, it ends that sentence when it's safe to do so. So I'm saying strike the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 words from the sentence because I feel it's kind of redundant on the beginning of that sentence.
Just put the period after Nashua Public Schools.
So we're saying that the only person who will be assigned from the district is an administrator, no teachers?
That's not the motion on the floor. The
But it
motion
was
is
in
to change
sentence
the,
that wasn't it in the sentence you read?
No.
It said administrator, right? It didn't say anything. There's no.
the district, it says the district administration.
Yeah, so there's no mention of teachers. I don't think in the motion being, I don't know, maybe I'm missing it. Maybe it's somewhere and but I don't think there is.
No, I think at this point, the current scope is to work with the administration to come up with guidelines to phase us back in over time, but also phase us like back and forth depending on what the metrics are that we establish based on public health data, I would say. But I lost my thought. But I think if we need further information and investigation that wasn't done this summer, because there's like hundreds of pages of work that people did this summer, we could always appoint, the committee could always appoint a task force or a subgroup, including teachers or parents or whomever, to research the topic and get back to the committee. Does that make sense?
Well, I understand what you're saying, but I again, I think Mrs. Johnson was the one who said that she wanted to hear from parents. I don't think she's the only one who wants to hear from parents. I think that parents, I personally am very impressed with any parent who participates, engages in the process. I think if we had more parents engaging, we would be better. Because you say that you can have one from each sector. For instance, somebody earlier said, well, you don't have to have, I said that I thought it would be good to have one from middle school, one from elementary, one from high school. That doesn't mean it's mandatory. If you have nobody that volunteers and wants to do it, you can't go and strong arm somebody to do it. But today, when I was talking I had a gentleman call me today, and first thing he said was, I would be very happy to volunteer. I'm very interested in making this the best I can possibly make it for my kids. And I think it was a sincere, earnest desire on his part. And I think there are we're very fortunate to have caring teachers. We really, I can't say enough about how impressed over the years I've been with our teaching staff, because while no staff is perfect, we have way above average. But anyway, I'll let it go. If nobody else wants to go there, then we won't go there. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Deem. I just want to bring our focus back to Ms. Brown's amendment, which is for paragraph 6, the very end of the first sentence. She would like to strike when it's safe to do so from that sentence. Is that correct, Ms. Brown? Yes. Okay. Any other comments about that motion? Ms. Bishop. I see you, Mr. Guarino. After Ms. Bishop, please.
So I think safety needs to continue to be in there if we're talking about a full reopening of the Nashua Public Schools, not just as parents are comfortable pulling their kids in. I think maybe not striking it, but adding to it. This is the fun part that should hit in committee, right? But I think it would be good to put in there. So if we leave that sentence as it is, when it is safe to do so, when it is safe to do so according to public health metrics, deeming it safe to do so for all students and in consideration of the safety of the community. Because that's kind of what we're talking about with the full reopening, and that's a lot of what we have to discuss in these committee meetings is.
That's the next line, Jen.
Well, that would be important to read ahead. No, I'm just kidding.
And that's what I say.
think we
I don't mean to be
have-
I don't mean to be argumentative or say that I just want to throw all caution to the wind. I think that all of the details being the factors that include but not limited to epidemiology, technology, staffing, educational plans, national public health data, metrics and guidelines. I think because we have all that, and that's what we're going to base our reopening on, to have that wording in there is actually kind of tying your hands, because safe is not is not going to be necessarily the same qualification. It's not a specific measurable quantification or qualification. I think the other details that you've got in here are really good, and they're definite factors that we need to pay attention to. I'm just saying, you don't want to make, and I don't think anybody on this board would move forward with a plan that's not safe. I think we're all in this mindset that we want to make sure that we're doing what's right by every kid in this school district. I think that's the key here. I have faith in us that we're going to do the right thing when it comes to safety.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Ms. Bishop, did that answer your question or no?
I think it's a bigger conversation that probably isn't appropriate for right now.
Oh, that sounds really fun and interesting. Okay. Does anyone else? I'm sorry. I'm in very good spirits tonight. I'm having caffeine late at night. Mr. Guarino, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I think it's a mistake to take it out. I mean, yeah, everybody wants safety. So why not say so? And I respectfully disagree. You can quantify and qualify safety. I do it every day in my job. You can quantify and qualify safety. Absolutely, you can. And I just want to make sure that when we do have full reopening of the schools, that we all agree that it's safe to do so. And I don't see anything wrong with saying that. If we all agree on it, then we can say it. Thank you. So I'm not going to support your motion. Respectfully disagree.
Thank you, Mr. Guarino. Ms. Timmons.
I'd like to table the motion until we have more language on this and take it up at another time, so we can really dive into it. I think this is not the right time to do this.
Do you have a proposal for when we could? Like, where else would be more appropriate to do this work?
Well, we can do it in a committee meeting where, not in a full board meeting. We can get Tara to set up a time where we can address just this particular piece, and then we won't waste people's time with discussing the logistics of this motion.
I will second that.
Okay. So I have two questions on that. One is, do you feel that a full meeting, like a special meeting of the board, would be most appropriate, or if this should go to the inaugural meeting for this particular committee?
I think that we should bring this up to a full board at a non-meeting.
A special meeting.
A special meeting.
Okay. All right. So the motion, I just wanted to make sure I was clear. So the motion is to table consideration of the scope of the Pandemic Response Committee scope for a special meeting to be scheduled by Ms. Kinsella once she looks at our very full calendar.
I have a question.
Yes.
Does that include also the appointments? So the appointments to the committee, are they going to be that you have made? Does that mean, do we vote on who your appointments to this committee as we do on other standing committees?
I don't care. Ms. Johnson?
Thank you. I don't think this needs to be taken up at another board committee, because I'm reading this and we're taking out the word safe. These factors may include, but not limited to, the epidemiology, technology, staffing, educational plans, and resources in hybrid. It always talks about epidemiology. So the thing is that we will get reports from Bobby Bagley. If we have a question, we can always pick up the phone and send Bobby Bagley an email and say to her, this is what we'd like to do. Can we get your opinion? So we're already in communications with her. The only thing that we're taking out the word safe, because I think it's a little bit redundant, because nobody's going to send the kids back if it's not safe. You know, so I don't have a problem removing that word safe, because you're talking about the epidemiology and technology. I don't think this has to go to another meeting, basically, because What are we gonna do? Spend 2 hours more at another meeting and tie up another night when we could just take care of it tonight? It's silly. Let's just vote on this, move this on. I asked to be on the committee, the last full board meeting 2 weeks ago. And so I asked to be on it. A couple of people asked to be on it that night. I guess first come, first served. I don't know. The squeaky wheel gets the grease here. So I'm asking that we vote on this tonight.
I think that tabling, when we table something, it's not debatable. Supposed to vote on it.
Sure. I just looked it
Point
up.
of order.
So I just looked it up and I haven't found it yet. So why don't you go ahead and take the roll on the motion to table?
I still have a question if we're tabling the entire committee, and that means appointments. also.
I have no opinion of that. Let's discuss that. If we table it.
But there has to be an answer to this question. When the president makes appointments to committees, what we have done is we have voted to approve the president's appointments on all our standing committees. So are we not going to do that, or are we going to do that? I think it should. I
say yes, fine. Let's discuss
Okay,
that.
so this includes tabling the entire committee and its composition.
Sure.
But point of order.
Yeah.
Mrs. Raymond, I think just for a point of information, I believe the motion was to table the motion that was on the floor, which was my motion, which was to remove the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 words from the end of that sentence. So I believe that the motion that we're voting on right now is not to table the entire committee or the entire conversation, but to table my motion. So I think if Mr. Garino would like to call the roll on that, if you'd be comfortable with that, we can table that.
Wait. Let's, Mr. Guarino, wait.
No, I'm speaking.
Mr. Guarino.
What? I'm speaking.
No, it's not your turn.
I know. I'm asking you to ask Ms. Timmons to clarify what she meant.
I can do that on my own. I saw her hand.
Apparently we have questions and you're like, I don't care. And that's your answers. So I don't know. I don't know what you're doing.
Timmons, is it your intention to table the entire discussion of the scope until we have a special meeting just on this topic? Or
Yes,
simply
ma'am.
Okay.
That is my motion, to table the whole pandemic response committee.
Okay. And everything else having to have that discussion. I don't have any opinion whatsoever whether we discuss committee assignments at that time or not. I know that that's very important to you, Mr. Guarino. If you would like to take it up at that special meeting, if that's what we do, I am absolutely okay with it. I have no opinion.
I just have one more thing to say. The democratic process requires us to agree as a board as to who is on that committee. As we have done in the past, the president has appointed committee members and committee chairs, but the board has voted on it as a democratic process. That's what I'm asking for. I'm asking that when the president appoints people to a committee and the chair to that committee, that we all vote on it and we agree on it. That's all
Mr.
I'm asking.
Guarino.
It's called the democratic process.
No.
That's what I'm asking for.
Mr. Guarino.
Thank you.
First, this motion is not debatable. Second, no one has suggested that we not do that. I would appreciate it if you.
I didn't get an answer to my
Excuse
question.
me.
I asked and you didn't give me an answer. So
Excuse me.
I'm just clarifying.
Point
Take
of order,
the
he needs
roll.
to stop interfering. He needs to stop interrupting.
Yes, he does. It's
Mr. Guarino, it's not acceptable for you to interrupt every time you disagree with every comment.
I'm not
Did that, it would be even a bigger zoo than it already is.
No, well,
Mr. Guarino, please.
I'm trying to get some clarification and some answers. And
You got your clarification.
The president of this board gives me an answer. I don't care.
Well, I don't have an
it doesn't-
opinion. I don't know the
doesn't make
answer
sense.
to your question.
It doesn't make any
Mr.
sense.
Guarino,
So I will take the role as clerk on Ms. Timmons' motion to table.
and per Ms. Timmons, it is the entire discussion of this committee and scope until we can have a special meeting on it.
Okay. Raymond Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
No.
Sandra Ziem,
No,
Jennifer Bishop,
No.
Sharon Gilio,
No.
Jessica Brown,
No.
Heather Raymond,
No.
Dotty Oden,
No.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
Motion fails 2-7.
Okay. So we're back to Ms. Brown's motion to strike the when it is safe to do so. Ms. Gilio. Oh, Ms. Gilio, you're on.
I just wanted to draw attention to the time. I do believe that we have a 2-hour meeting limit, and then in order to continue, we need to take a vote. And we are already past 8 o'clock at night, so we've been meeting for more than 2 hours. I just wanted to bring that up.
Yes, Ms. Gilio, note of the time. Our practice has been to complete whatever motion is on the floor and then take that vote. So I would like to give Ms. Brown's motion the opportunity to be voted on and not have the chance of us just adjourning in the middle of it. That seems quite disrespectful.
Okay.
So was there any other discussion on Ms. Brown's motion? Okay, Mr. Guarino, could you please roll regarding Ms. Brown's motion to strike in paragraph 6, the words when it is safe to do so?
Okay, on the motion, Mr. Guarino votes no. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
No.
Jennifer Bishop,
No.
Sharon Gilio,
No.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
No.
Dotty Oden,
No.
Gloria Timmons.
No.
I have 2 yeses and 7 nos. The motion fails.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Ms. Brown, did you have anything else?
Nope. I look forward to being at all the meetings, and I just want to reiterate that it's probably going to have to be more than once a month. Thank you.
Thank you. Back to my list, which I have put somewhere else. Mr. Guarino, did you wish to make a motion or have something to say that you have not said already on the scope? It sounded like you wished to make a motion on voting on the committee assignments.
No, I didn't have any motion, but I don't know if it needs a motion, but I was saying before that it is out of it is not in our practice, in our policies, that the president appoints herself the committee of a standing committee. I mean, I voted against the committee, but that does not mean I don't accept it. I accept this committee because I was outvoted. It's there. I want to be a part of it. Okay. And we have rededicated ourselves to working as a team. And that means if I can't beat them, join them, I'm here. I think it has value and merit. But I mean, I would even recommend that Ms. Brown be, instead of alternate, that she's actually the chair of this committee. And I could be the alternate, but I don't think the president should appoint herself as chair because that's not what we have done in the past. And and also I think that once we do decide on who's going to be on this committee, that we all vote on it and approve what the president and how the president has appointed people on the committee, because that's what we've done in the past. I see us doing something different than what we've done in the past, and that's why I'm speaking up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guarino. Ms. Oden asked to speak for her second time, and then I see Ms. Ziem's hand as well.
I would like to make a motion under scope, the 4th paragraph, the 4th line after safe to do so. These factors, rather than may, the word shall be used. These factors shall include, but not limited to, epidemiology, technology, etc.
Second.
Sorry, I'm on mute. Hold on one second. So, may to shall. Okay. Did anyone wish to speak on Ms. Oden's motion? Ms. Brown?
I just want to say thanks, Mrs. Oden. Once again, your experience accomplishes what I was trying to do much more efficiently. Thank you.
Okay.
Doesn't always happen.
Anybody else? Ms. Timmons, did I see your hand a second ago?
Oh, no.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Guarino, on Ms. Oden's motion to change may to shall in paragraph 6.
Okay, on the
Sentence
motion,
2.
on the motion, Mr. Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio, Ms. Gilio, I'll come back to her.
Yes.
Oh, she said yes, okay. Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Raymond,
Yes.
Ms. Oden,
Yes.
Ms. Timmons,
Yes.
motion carries 9-0.
Okay, great. Ms. Ziem?
I just wanted to say, can we continue this discussion at the first meeting of this committee? The way I'm understanding it is most of us are probably going to come to all of these meetings anyway. So a lot of this is, I don't know, I just think that we have people who want to talk. We're going to have people that may want to make comments, and we still have more business, and it is getting late. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Ziem. I believe Miss, I'm sorry, who let us know of the time? Miss Gilio, it's time for your motion.
Okay. I move that in view of the fact that we've been meeting for over 2 hours, that we need to take a vote whether or not to extend. I guess I'm making a motion that we should extend the meeting one more half hour.
Second.
All right, the motion is to extend a half an hour, made by Miss Gilio, seconded by Miss Timmons. Mr. Guarino, can you call the roll?
Okay, on the motion, Raymond Guarino votes no. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dotty Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons,
Yes.
motion carries 8-1.
So it sounds like everyone is planning on coming to this committee when we have our inaugural meeting. I suggest that we continue the discussion further at that meeting. So that comes to the next item, which also should have robust discussion, which is whether or not the Board of Ed ought to return to in-person meetings, as we voted for last month to go to in-person in November. Shall we do that, or do we need to continue in remote? Are there any factors that would cause us to change our vote? Ms. Johnson.
I was in favor of returning October 13th. Mr. Guarino put a motion on the floor, which changed everything to November 1st. And I believe we need to get back in there on as soon as possible. I mean, it's not fair to the community that we're remoting. We are showing that we can't be out there in the public's eye anymore. And I just think, I've said it from the beginning, you know, we need to be out there. Put the mask on. I've been working since May 28th. Put the mask on, get back in there. We'll have disinfectant wipes, Clorox, whatever, and we'll wipe everything down. You can get probably a little plastic piece to go over the microphone. And then when people are done, they take it off, they wipe down the counter, and we do X marks the spots for 6 feet between everybody. I mean, we have to get back in there. It's only right for us to get back in there now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go down the list. So Ms. Oden, you're next.
Thank you. I agree with Ms. Johnson. I voted before to go back. I think it's time to go back into the boardroom. I'll wear a mask. I'll sit out where the chairs are, where the people that the public usually sits in to attend if I have to. I don't have to sit in the horseshoe if it's too close for people, but I would like to get back into the boardroom. Thank you.
I'm going to take my turn this time. I haven't yet, but I'd just like to say a couple of things. I'm really torn on this. I dislike the idea of asking our staff and students to go in the buildings without us in the buildings. I feel like we ought to have vertical alignment on that. However, I look at Manchester that decided to go back and had one meeting, and they had some issues with public maintaining social distancing and wearing masks, and they voted to go back to hybrid. Our aldermen are also continuing virtual meetings at this point. So I want this to be successful. So I will go with the majority of the board, provided that we have at least 6 members who are able to meet in public. I count myself as being able to meet. So if there are 5 others who will jump on the bandwagon. So Ms. Timmons?
No, I can't support going back into the boardroom. I said that numerous times. Those who want to go back in, fine. I'll just do it remotely and call in. I just cannot at this particular time. We're having an uptick in COVID, including in our district especially. And I'm around a 91-year-old lady every single day when I do the remote with the kids, and I just cannot subject her to COVID. And I don't want to be subject to COVID. And I've been tested, like Dr. Mosley said, at the Elm Street garage. And even though I'm negative, I'm so afraid of getting it. I'm tested quite often. So I'm not going to put myself in harm's way. I just can't do it. I've seen too many things that happen with people that had COVID, and it's not pretty. I just can't support it.
Thank you, Ms. Timmons. Ms. Ziem?
I feel the same way about this as I feel about going back to school. I feel like those families who feel that they want to go back, that they want the risk because they feel the gain is greater than the risk, then I think this is a free country and they should be able to choose that if we can do it physically. My concern has been that we haven't had the teachers to do that. And so I feel the same way with this meeting. If Mrs. Timmons feels uncomfortable coming, then she should join our meeting by video. And if whoever feels uncomfortable, they should be allowed to join by video because it is their body, their family, their health that they are risking. Each of us makes that decision for themselves, is my feeling. And so I very much want to go back. I agree with Ms. Johnson. I've always wanted to go back to the room. But I also have the greatest respect for people like Mrs. Timmons. When she has voiced her concerns, I have to say it has touched my heart, and I feel great empathy for what she's saying. So I don't think we should be trying to force anybody to our will. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ziem. Ms. Bishop?
Just a clarifying question, because I think I was assuming that people who would want to do public comment would want to be doing it in public. Are we going to have an option for the members of the public who do not feel that it is safe to go out into the community? Are we going to continue to have an option for them to call in if we go back? Because we can't, if we're going to allow people to do something, we have to allow everybody to do it the same way.
I don't think that we have the technological capabilities to do that. There isn't when we say call into the meeting, like Ms. Timmons could call in, but that's not true. We actually have to call out from the meeting to Ms. Timmons's phone or whomever else. We don't have a phone line dedicated in that room for people to call. So just like ETV was explaining to us before, when we're meeting it physically in a room together, we don't have the capacity to meet physically in a room and Zoom. It's physically in a room with the members who can't make it, calling in and participating by phone, and members of the public being there in person. Or we meet electronically like we have been and have the members of the public access the meeting electronically. Those are the options.
So if we, now I understand everybody's personal choice, but we're taking away people's personal choice to participate in the meeting by going back to in person.
They could participate by letter, but that would be the only way.
But those are, we don't read their email. It's not like, I know that the State House will at times read emails, but we don't allow for that kind of public comment. So if we're if we're going to say that it's a personal choice to join the meeting, then we have to continue to do it remotely to allow for the public comments to filter in according to their level of safety. Like, remove the board's wishes from it. This is, if we want the public to be involved, we have to keep the phone lines open so everybody, even if they don't feel safe coming in, can participate, because we're kind of, you know, escalating the level of privilege to come into the schools to talk. We're not giving that same platform to everybody. We can't just allow the healthiest of the healthy to come in and talk to us.
Thank you, Ms. Bishop.
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
I think it's a great idea to come back. I think it's also going to help the temperament of our meetings when we're meeting together. I think it's really important that we support the folks that the board members, if they need to come home, stay home, that's fine. We'll have them call in. But I think it's really important that we get back in the boardroom. I think it'll improve the expediency, the efficiency, and the cordiality of our meetings. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you all in person. And I think it's a good example for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Guarino?
You know, we have a responsibility to keep each other safe and to think about each other. And but if the majority wants to go back into the boardroom, I have to accept it. I will accept it. But we also, and I agree with what Ms. Ziem said, we have to give our members options who can't do it because they want to remain safe and they're in high risk. They're in high risk. So, you know, we give the teachers options, we give the students options, hybrid. So I think we need to do some kind of hybrid. And I would be, I hope that we would do that. I see, you know, I look at the numbers of COVID and the, it's starting to increase again. And as we start to open things up, as restaurants and venues start to open up, you know, we see increases, and people, you know, people want normalcy. I can understand people want normalcy, but we also have to be very careful because this is a very highly contagious disease, and it kills. So, like I said, I will go back. I will go along with the majority, but I think we need to give our members options, just like we give everyone else options. And we should have some kind of hybrid so that we can participate either by Zoom or some other, maybe we can have a camera in there or something like that. I know we try to do it by phone and it gets hard to do it by phone, but that's the way I feel.
Thank you, Mr. Guarino. Just to be clear, with my talks with ETV, we don't have the technological capacity to do half and half. We're either all in person or we're all in Zoom. We can't do half of us on one and half of us on the other. We can't do some committees in Zoom and some committees in person. It's all or nothing. So, and right now we're pretty split again. Ms. Gilio?
Yeah, I do have a few things to say. When we spoke of this, and I think we actually took a vote several meetings ago, with the plan being that we would go back to in-person meetings in November, with the first meeting in November. And I voted in favor of it, and said that I would attend the meetings if I had someone to take me there. Okay. Due to the escalation of COVID cases in the last several weeks, due to conversations I had with my 2 adult children and in consideration of my 2 small grandchildren, I have complications due to my age, which is 71, and I have respiratory problems. I've already spent several months not seeing either my children or my grandchildren in order to be protected from this virus. And so I do not feel that I am willing to go to the meetings anymore at this time, unless the numbers start to go down. And I agree with what Ms. Bishop said relative to the public being involved in the meetings too. I think that's a real consideration. I will probably vote with the will of the group, but I, for one, cannot be there, and I'm not sure how that leaves the numbers of people who would be attending. Thank you.
I see you, Ms. Thiem. I'd like to also ask Mr. Gao and Mr. Norris. Would you like to speak before them or after?
Yeah, I just want to say that having heard Mrs. Giglio and Mrs. Timmons, and I didn't realize, I thought we could do hybrid, but if we cannot do hybrid, I wouldn't want to have a meeting without Mrs. Giglio and Mrs. Timmons, because I think they're both valuable members of this committee. And I couldn't, no, I would vote against it. Thank you.
Can I clarify, is it okay if I interject and clarify that the hybrid just means there's not a video chat? People, they can still call in to the meetings and participate via phone.
Yes, we have 4 lines for members to call in, but as I've said before, we have to have at least 6, because if there's only 5 of us able to physically make it to meetings, and somebody gets a flat tire or has a sick child or whatever, has to work that night, we have to cancel the meeting altogether. So we really need to have that 6th person. Mr. Gao and then Mr. Norris, if you have any comments on this.
Sure. I personally am like really excited to go back in person, but the thing is my grandparents do live with me. So like, unfortunately, I probably won't be able to go back in. But one thing to add, though, I think given that if we do go back in, the large part of public, I mean, at least like you can't do public comments over the phone anymore. I think that possibly loses out on a large part of the demographic of people in Nashua. And I would hate to have the public comment filled with voices with parents only comfortable with going into school. I think it's really important to hear both sides from the public. And because mainly from that standpoint, I think it's pretty important to hear from everyone's voices, to maintain that democracy and to stay online if that's possible.
You make me proud to be on this board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gao. Mr. Norris?
Thank you. So if we ended up going back into the boardroom, I would be willing, depending on the protocols in place, to go back. But I think I am a little concerned about just the overall logistics of this. I know meetings over Zoom have been extremely long and cumbersome. We get caught up in muting and everything. But if, I know we talked about this before, but if even having one person call into the meeting slows it down a lot, never mind 2. And then if a student rep can't come, if an administrator can't come, if Dr. Mosley can't come, I see that's just going to create a lot of problems that until we have a pretty solid method of ensuring against, I think we're just going to be slowing down our meetings even more. And just going by I forget who mentioned this before, but the cases are rising right now. We're almost like we're going at our 3rd peak right now. I don't know if it's the best idea to take unnecessary risk when we can get our job done currently over Zoom. I don't think we need to take any unnecessary risk and go back into an enclosed room where the air filtration might not be up to par and we're all sitting relatively close to each other. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Johnson?
Well, we've been assured that the air filtration system is fine. So, if we have a problem with the air filtration system, and I said in one other meeting when Ms. Timmons questioned it, I said that maybe we should go in and check it out, because if it's no good for our meeting, it's no good for our students when they return to school. And I'm listening to the argument about not going back in, and yet we're not accessible really to the public to some degree. I mean, they can call in, but when we can't go out there and show the public that we are a public body, we don't have City Hall open. Nobody can get into City Hall because that's in lockdown. The school district is in lockdown. We're all basically in lockdown, and we're elected to the board, and we're a public body, and everything's locked down here. And these meetings, the face-to-face with that interaction, we have lost. We are little squares on a computer now. And every time we talk about going back in, we push it out. The best time we should have gotten back in, like I said, with the school kids, was in the summertime in August, because you have the fresh air and before everything gets locked up and before anything was starting to rise. So now we're saying the numbers are peaking, they're starting to go up, and yet we can't get back in. So now we're going to push it out again. I mean, it's just, we have to wear masks. So the law says we have to wear a mask in any building here in Nashua. So we have to go in there with a mask and we have to wear a mask. Social distancing, that's from the CDC. So if masks work and social distancing work, then hopefully nobody should get sick with COVID. Unless they haven't told us the truth about social distancing and masks. So we're going to be wearing the masks throughout the whole meeting. So I kind of don't understand, if this is what Nashua tells us we have to do. We can go into a restaurant and eat, and we can take our masks off to eat. We can go into restaurants and eat. We have to put a mask on to go into the restaurant. I've been out there. I have to go to work with a mask on, and I can't take off my mask for 4 hours while I'm working. So these are all the guidelines in Nashua, and yet we cannot go back in to have a public board meeting within the guidelines of CDC and the Nashua ordinance. I don't know what to say anymore, but we're not accessible to the public.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Johnson. Ms. Brown? Oh, you're on mute, Ms. Brown.
Did everybody get a turn? I don't
So
wanna
everyone
go
has
at it.
spoken once. Ms. Johnson's spoken twice. This will be your second.
Well, I was actually just going to say, I think we're at a good place right now. We've got the consensus of the board. Why don't we go ahead and move on to new business?
I would suggest that we don't have the consensus of the board. By my count, we don't have sufficient
All right.
people to
I
hold an
move to
in-person
keep in
meeting.
place the previous date of November 1st to move back into the boardroom.
I'll second it.
Okay. Mr. Guarino, the roll, please.
Okay, on the motion, Raymond Guarino votes no. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
No.
Jennifer Bishop,
Sadly, no.
Sharon Gilio,
No.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
No.
Dotty Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
No.
I have 3 yeses and 6 nos.
It fails. Yep, that was my count from earlier. I find myself particularly moved by Ms. Bishop's observation about equal access, and also by Mr. Gao's situation with his grandparents and the number of phone lines that we have to come in. Our student representatives are extremely important to this process. They've brought a lot of clarity and wisdom over well, the last 3 years that I've been on, but especially during this pandemic. And I don't want to lose out on that. So I move that we delay in-person meetings of the Board of Education until, I don't know when.
It's safe to do so. And it's
I
not
wanted,
now.
let me rephrase my motion. I move that we remain in virtual Board of Education meetings, and we consider the topic at our first meeting in December.
I second that.
Okay. Mr. Guarino?
Okay, on the motion, Mr. Guarino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
I guess yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Oh,
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dotty Oden,
No.
Gloria Timmons.
Yes.
I have 2 noes, 7 yeses, motion carries.
Okay, I think we've exhausted that topic. Does anyone have anything under new business? Okay, seeing none. Just a reminder that if you do have something you wanted to add to the agenda, please let me know prior to the Tuesday before the meeting so that Dr. Mosley and I can add it to the agenda queue. I'm looking at the time, it's 8:39. I would ask the board to have a motion to extend the meeting for the purposes of public and board member comments.
so moved.
Seconded.
Okay. Mr. Guarino?
On the motion to extend the meeting, Raymond Guarino votes no. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
Yes.
Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dotty Oden,
Yes.
Gloria Timmons.
I think we've lost Gloria.
Okay,
Hopefully she calls back in.
motion, the motion carries 7-1.
Okay, great. So it's time for public comments. Thank you to everyone who has been so patient this evening. I know it can be tedious when we get into wordsmithing and we're just struggling to figure out the best way forward. Thank you for, that is really weird. Okay. We're not ready, Ms. Kinsella.
Ready?
Yeah. Sorry, the video was doing something weird. It turned me purple. Okay. Hello, caller. Last 4 digits are 3468. If you could please identify yourself and try and keep your comments to 2 minutes or less, I would appreciate it.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Okay. I just ran up the stairs. I've been on hold for like an hour. Sorry. So my name is Alicia. I am a parent of 2 district children, and I wanted to start by thanking those members of the board who I've had the pleasure of talking to over the last few weeks. So my comment today is specific to failure, lack of execution, non-existent planning, and the continuous need to create more obstacles through excuses and the direct disregard for planning from our current superintendent. The general consensus of my conversations heavily relied on humanity and setting realistic expectations and goals, achievable goals. As I sit here, decompressing from another remote learning day struggle, preparing to set up for another day tomorrow, I'm listening to this board and I truly can't help but reflect and think of how poorly the display of bad communication and unrealistic expectations is setting up our children for failure. What about the kids who are missing the opportunities that we as a district should be providing them? What about the kids who can't eat? Some parents who won't fill out this paperwork, the kids who are being abused at home without a safe space. What solutions do you have for them? Have you ever personally, any one of you, sat with your child while they are having another panic attack because Zoom isn't working and they're falling behind, or because the work isn't making sense and they're terrified to ask for help? What if you were one of the most vocal people you knew and you weren't seeing results for your own child while your heart breaks for thousands of others who may not have a person in their life willing to go to bat for what they need? What about the families that don't have a support system and are choosing between feeding their families or feeding their minds? The families of children of people who have had to choose between their duty to provide and their duty to console. How long are you willing to allow those families to do without? There is no more stimulus. Employment is drying up. Parents need to work, and honestly, most of us all want our children to learn, including those of our older children. I do not feel as a parent that it is my eldest's responsibility to parent and educate his younger brother. It is what you have chosen. Is that what you have chosen to do? That question is directly to Dr. Mosley. I would like to request that the board make it public knowledge regarding whether or not they intend to proceed with more time of Nashua being forced to succumb to a narcissistic, chauvinistic man who is acting in the best interest of his wants and his needs and not as the community as a whole. You all have created a completely isolated process. You're failing to meet the educational rights of our children. You have spent 6 months planning plans of plans. No more committees, no more excuses, action. To date, we have seen no action. You just, as of this evening, approved money to be spent on schools that remain vacant and have not succeeded in fixing the problem. Unfortunately, COVID is not going away. You guys need to work towards a realistic solution that does not negate almost 1/3 of our student population currently awaiting Chromebooks. There are 3,500 students who are not receiving an education. What will you do to help those students? Manchester has returned to school weekly by grade in a cohort model. Salem has plans, Concord has plans, Litchfield has plans. Although not all similar in population, we need execution. There is no more room for excuses, no more plans. It is time to work towards getting our children back into schools while allowing remote as an option for our vulnerable citizens. I, for one, am tired of crying because the longer this execution takes, the more I am watching my children and other children within the community fall apart and collapse. And my fear is not just for my children, but for the children who held hope in the educational system that are now losing sight of that hope because you guys have failed them. Thank you. Currently awaiting
Okay, hi, caller number 0880. We're hearing your television in the background. Oh, there we go.
There you
If
go.
you could please identify yourself.
Yes, my name is Wayne, and I have 2 children in the district, one a freshman and one an 8th grader. My freshman has an IEP, and I'm curious to know some mathematics that I did. I don't know if Dr. Mosley, or excuse me, Mr. Mosley realizes this, but the high school typically does 27 hours in a week for education. Then with COVID, they're doing now less than 12 hours per week. Junior high is 350 minutes per day, 29 hours per week. That's pre-COVID. COVID, they're doing 14 hours per week. So the question that I have is, has there been a waiver applied for the to go less than the 990 hours? That's equivalent to the 180 days. Also, even with the junior high, they're only getting 2 days of English and 2 days of math. And so it doesn't make sense. 55 minutes of math and 55 minutes of English just isn't enough time. So I hope that these numbers fit into your process, and I want to thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. And just a note, it is Dr. Mosley. He does have a PhD, so doctor, please. Thank you. Hi, caller number 6481. Sorry, I couldn't unmute myself. Hi, 6481. Are you there? It's not showing up for me. Oh, there you are. Hi. If you could
Sorry
please
about that.
identify yourself.
Yes, hi. My name is Peter Glidden. I'm a parent of 2 children in the Nashua school system. I just had a question. I guess, can I ask a question of one of the members or Dr. Mosley or?
You're certainly welcome to pose your question. We may not have an answer for you this evening. Frequently, we have to look into things. So
Okay.
Go ahead and use this time to say whatever you wish.
I'm wondering why the decision was made for the older children, like the children in high school and middle school, to not go into school first. I know there was something about babysitting, but that doesn't seem to make any sense to me.
Well, I can say for my part, we felt like we needed to prioritize those students who were most in need. So CTE students and children trying to learn to read and do basic math. Those are the most difficult things to do over Zoom.
So the children, the seniors graduating their last year, that doesn't matter? The children 8th grade going into high school, none of that's taken into consideration?
I don't think that's a fair question, frankly. So.
Okay.
Ms. Zine?
I would like to say to him that certainly we are very empathetic to the needs of your senior students. There's not a person on this board who wouldn't make it better if and when we can. The bottom line is that we weren't even sure. I'm not even sure that today we have adequate teachers to staff the high school. The problem
I don't believe that.
Well, do you think I'm lying? Why would I lie about that?
I'm not saying you're lying. I'm just saying that doesn't seem accurate.
Well, the reasoning is that if you have a child in high school and they're taking any of the college prep courses, the difficult geometry, trigonometry, the foreign languages, those require, they have to have special accreditation. They don't just have to have that first degree. They have to have more accreditation to teach those classes. We already had a shortage in those areas before the pandemic. Now with the pandemic, we have an even greater shortage. And so it is, believe it or not, that is one of the problems that we are dealing with, especially because the governor, some of the mandates that they passed was that we were going to have to, if, for instance, a teacher says, I'm high risk and I'm not going to come back in, we have to honor that and give them a leave of absence. Then we have to pay for a substitute as well as their salary. So it's not, I know it seems like it would be easy, but please know it's not easy. And most of all, know that there's nobody in this board who doesn't care about your children. We all have children and we all recognize that the hope of this country is our children. So we do care and we're trying our very best. That we all want to get back to school. Believe me when I tell you, we really do.
Thank you.
Well, the plan was to bring them back and then it kind of went away. So it doesn't seem like an adequate plan was put together over the summer.
The mandate came out after. You have to understand the mandates came out right at the last minute. We had mandates from the governor. We had mandates from public health. There have been all kind of mandates and we have to abide by the law. I understand why you would think like you do, but please just know that we're all doing the best we can. We're all praying that this will go away and we can get our kids back in school. We all want our kids. The last lady who talked about, how many of you have a child? I have a grandson that I tried to sit with last week and teach him on that the online learning. The poor child the computer was going on and off, on and off. It was raining that day, and it just on and off, and he couldn't. It was interrupted. There was no focus that he could. I mean, he already had a problem focusing because he has an IEP. But then when you took it to the next step where it was going in and out, the poor kid couldn't do anything. So a lot of us on this board, most of us have somebody, even Mrs. Timmings, her grandchildren, she sits with her grandchildren while they're on that online learning and tries to help with it. So we all have family, children, kids. We all care.
Yeah, we're not saying you don't care. It's just very frustrating that a child is trying to learn a foreign language online.
Yes.
And children are trying to
It
learn
is.
online like the same.
Yes, sir.
What's that? I'm sorry?
Okay. Oh, whatever. I guess we've lost Mr. Parker. So thank you for calling, sir. Did you have any other comments?
No, I think I should do it.
Okay. I think I might be having some connectivity issues, but thank you so much. Hello, caller 5921.
Hi.
Oh, good. If you could please introduce yourself.
Yes. Oh, hang on one second. Hi, my name is Karen Fletcher. I'm a parent of a senior at South. I'd also like to urge transition to an in-person model for the seniors as soon as possible. I understand that there are outstanding circumstances with staffing, but I feel that we need to be creative. While I understand that our seniors may be able to better handle remote learning, they're at a critical time in life where they will be transitioning out of high school after this year, whether it be directly to a career or applying to college. Many early action college deadlines have already passed or will be here within the next few weeks. Guidance is doing the best they can by communicating via email, Zoom calls, and webinars, but there is significantly more support that is needed. And if they were in person or at least hybrid, there would be better access to that support. I'd like to please strongly urge the request of an earlier transition for seniors back to an in-person model as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling. Hello, caller 9589. If you could please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Erica D'Amelia. I'm a parent of a first grader in the district and a wife of an employee of the school district. I'll start by saying I'm pretty disappointed here that the preschool will be taken out of the current schools that house preschool programs. My first grader was a part of the program as an IEP student since his 3rd birthday. Once it was the new school year as a 3-year-old, he was placed in his home school with an OT that he still has over 3 years later. This relationship has been paramount in his progress. I'm also in full support of parents being part of the pandemic committee. We're the most invested people in our children's education. I'm going to switch gears now. Dr. Mosley, you say you were distracted while you were laughing several times during your superintendent comment period. You were on Zoom. You're supposed to be a role model. Would you have been distracted if you were in person? Not likely. This is currently what you have forced on all students in this district. Many kids have many distractions at home. This is not an effective learning environment. My first grader last spring did wonderful during remote learning. Why? Because he had an established relationship with his kindergarten teacher. You never gave that opportunity this year. We spend many days with him in tears because he hates doing things that are only done in a remote learning environment. He also isn't having his IEP fully implemented. That's on you. The school district can face hefty fines from all students and their families that are going through the same issues. An expedited process to get all students back in school should be considered. It was mentioned at the October 16th meeting that older students take care of their younger siblings, and that's why they can't be put back in school. Where's ALC, the Adult Learning Center for those unaware, Century 21? I know for a fact that ALC has contacted both Dr. Mosley and Dr. McKinney many times and have yet to receive a reply. ALC has been both in Hollis and Litchfield since the beginning of the year without incident. This would solve many child care issues. Dr. Mosley, myself, ALC, and many other parents would like to hear your answer tonight why you aren't responding and that you promise to work with ALC now. We also need to consider a return to full-time ASAP. Hybrid is not a conducive learning environment and remote learning is far worse in my opinion. Drop the freeze on staff movement within the district. Allow those that have credentials to be a long-term sub. This will help with staffing issues. To the Board of Ed members, if it looks like a duck, swims like a duck, and quacks like a duck, it's likely a duck. Remember that when you hear Dr. Mosley speak. He needs to stop playing us like a fiddle. I'd also like to say, I honestly hope that you have started the process of looking for a new superintendent when Dr. Mosley's term is up after the school year. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. Hi, caller 5194.
Hello.
Hi.
I am John.
Go ahead.
I am John Michael Pearson. I live at 28 Masters Drive, Nashua, New Hampshire. I have taught in the district for 19 years. I have a third grader in school and a 3-year-old that's in preschool full time. And I'd like to talk first about the attendance issues at the middle school level. As a teacher, I am getting about 50% of my kids on the screen each day, and the inconsistencies throughout the middle school taking attendance at the different buildings. Fairgrounds does a remote call if that child is not there one day. Elm Street does not. This just shows the lack of consistency in this district and the lack of planning. There is no planning in this district. The district doesn't have a plan. The district has had a summer task force that they didn't use. You said so yourself, Ms. Raymond, that there was 300 pages of documents sitting in a desk someplace that haven't been used. There was great teacher members on that committee. There were parent members on that committee. The stuff was not used. And I just think the attendance is awful. These kids aren't getting education. My own son is getting a pretty good education. He has a great third grade teacher at Sunset Heights, but he's not getting the education he would if he was in her room every day. And getting to see the Smurfs and getting all those bucks and all that great things Miss Norway does at Sunset Heights. She's amazing. However, then I had tonight, there was one more comment by Mr. Garino that he was talking about a choice. He said, everybody has a choice. I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice to go to work. I don't have a choice to send my kid to school. He said we all have a choice. We don't have that choice. He basically lied right on air, and that he's continuing to do that, and he needs to learn not to lie and not interrupt people.
He had a choice and said we have a responsibility to each.
Mr. Garino, please don't interrupt.
You said everybody had a choice. You said whether hybrid or full-time. I don't have that choice. So don't tell me I have a choice. You interrupt people all the time. You're rude. You're disrespectful, and I'm not going to stand for it anymore. Okay, have a good night. Bye.
Okay, thank you. Just a reminder to everyone, we allow people to speak, and unless they are being obscene, we can't interrupt their First Amendment rights to speak to us, even when they have things to say that we don't like. We've all been the recipient of that at times. So, okay. Hi, caller. Oh, I can't read it. 6669.
Yep.
Okay, great. Sorry, it's so small on my screen, even with my glasses. If you could please identify yourself and then try and keep your comments to about 2 minutes.
I will try. My name is Lisa. I have a senior at North. I just have a few statements. I have a few questions for the board and Dr. Mosley. First is, I think everyone is asking, why isn't Nashua open? Please don't say that it has to do with the size of our district, because there are bigger districts and some as the same as ours or larger that are reopened. Yes, they may have closed down for periods of time, but they were open and then they would close and reopen with a plan. To bring up staff, that's my second question, is why is Nashua the only school district that seems to have a problem with returning staff? And third, are we the only district that has teachers that refuse to come back? If so, how can that be and why is it allowed to happen here? I don't know how many of you have seniors in your household on the board, but they are losing so much of their senior year that they will never get back. They have friends in other school districts that are participating with their teachers, their peers, and their counselors face to face. And no one except the members on this board and our superintendent are standing in our students' way of finishing up their final year in the Nashua school system. I will say that if no one in the rest of the state nor the country were back in school, that would be one thing. But sadly for our students here in Nashua, all grades, that is not the case. I'm sorry, but I'm a taxpayer in the city and have been for years. for my child to physically be in school just like other parents in other cities and towns throughout the state, not sitting up in his bedroom every day in front of a computer. And when I hear you talk about committees meeting in a month, in 2 months, December, January, you have to be kidding me. These kids need to go back to school yesterday. I heard Ms. Timmons say tonight that they cannot go back until the school is safe and health officials say so. Well, how is it safe for other schools in this exact same state to go back to school a month ago and our kids are still sitting in their bedrooms? That is a question that you all should be responsible to answer. And just one suggestion, if there is a problem with going back to school and people are worried about lunches and the face masks and not being distant, I would be, and I'm sure every other parent in this city would be happy if the kids could go back, even if it was just half a day, to see their teachers every day for even an hour and then leave at a half day and not have to worry about the lunch as a factor. Not sure if that is a problem, but it was just something I had thought about. In closing, I just want to say our kids deserve better, way better than what you board members and our superintendent are doing for them. Excluding, I would say, Mrs. Brown and Ms. Johnson, thank you very much for your support. But you need to figure out a plan now, not months from now and not for next school year, but now. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no additional callers in the waiting room.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Kinsella.
You're welcome.
Right, so that concludes our public comments. Thank you all for your patience. This evening, I think it was important that we have public comments at our meetings and that we all stay here because I just think it's important that we listen to what people have to say and think on it. Okay, so board member comments. I'm down to here on my list of people. So that puts Ms. Timmons up next. Oh, we lost Ms. Timmons. Okay, so Ms. Ziem, do you have a board member comment? No comments from Ms. Ziem this evening. Ms. Bishop? No comments from Ms. Bishop. Ms. Brown?
Thank you, Ms. Raymond. I want to thank all the parents that stayed in the line and teachers that stayed in the line to call in at this late hour. It's dedication. It shows that you're willing to fight for what you know is right. And I want to say that there still are some board members on here who are committed. They recognize the intrinsic value of having face-to-face learning and that we need to provide and honor the choices that we offered to our parents this summer when we gave them that option. It's time for us to get back in line with bring up to our end of the bargain from a district perspective. We need to come up with a better plan. We need to do it quickly. And I really hope that in the next few weeks here, we can work with the district to find something to put in place to bring the families that need and want to come back into school buildings back. I know there's a lot of kids not just suffering, not from the ones that have an element of privilege, but an element of suffering in situations that I don't even know if I can really necessarily describe or if I really fully understand them. But I know like the ELL kids, my heart goes out to them. Imagine them struggling with a parent who's also maybe struggling with not even just the technology, but also the language that their teachers are trying to teach them through. I really want to try to move forward with this. I want to make sure that all of our students are getting the support they need, not just small populations. And I'm looking forward to working with the other board members to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Mr. Gorino, do you have a board member comment this evening?
Yeah, I'm trying to gather my thoughts here. I don't mean to argue with that gentleman, but I understand it's hard on families. It was hard on my family when my daughter was in high school last year and she did remote. It's hard. It's taking its toll on the social and emotional well-being of our children. And I don't think there's any member of this board who thinks that we shouldn't get our kids back in the schools. I think we're all in agreement that our kids should be back in the schools, but I think it's on the manner to proceed that we have the disagreement. And I want to remind parents that we had teachers and we had parents. We had a member of this board on the committees during the summer. And that plan that we had is a result of a collaboration, the democratic process. People had input. And so I think we all want to honor that commitment to get our kids back in the schools. But it's hard to do things when you don't have the resources. And I'm not trying to make excuses, but we're trying to get those resources in line and trying to get our kids back in school. I voted to have sports go back in the fall, and they did a great job. Everybody has their part to do, and talking about equity, this pandemic, it hurts some parts of our population more than it does others because they're disadvantaged. But now people are talking about disadvantaged kids during the pandemic, so we have to get back. But I hope that those same people that are talking like that were for equity before the pandemic, right? And then after the pandemic, they don't forget that there are children and there are families that are disadvantaged in our society, and not just talk about them during the pandemic to say, oh, we have to get schools back in because, it hurts a certain segment of our population, Let's be consistent in our ideology and in our actions. I am looking forward to working with the board, and if I'm not on the committee, then I will go there and I will do my best to be constructive, to try to make policies that we can implement to get our kids back in the classrooms as soon as we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Guarino. Ms. Johnson, do you have board member comments this evening? Oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Gilio, I skipped you.
That's okay. I have no comment.
Okay, I'm sorry, Ms. Johnson, go ahead.
Thank you. I'll make it up for you, Ms. Julio. I'm never without words. I'd like to, first of all, I want to thank all the parents that called this evening, and I'm glad you called. I wrote down quite a bit of notes here. The theme of all the calls are they want their children back in school. They want their children in-person learning. They want their seniors to be able to have at least some type of normalcy to be able to graduate from school this year. When I was on work on Friday, I had a customer say to me, "Are you Mrs. Johnson?" And I answered, "Yes, is that good or bad?" And she wanted to thank me for standing up for the kids. And she told me a story about her grandchildren. Her little grandson got to go back to kindergarten, and his sister was crying because she couldn't go back to school right now. And it's a sad thing. So we have to look at what's happened with our students this year. Is this the new normalcy? I hope not. But we've got kids that are depressed. We've got kids that are committing suicide. We've got kids that aren't learning this remote. And I keep saying to everybody, at 67, I can't do all these squares for any length of time. How do we expect kids to sit in front of a computer? It's impossible. Even with me with Zoom meetings for business, it's impossible. And yet we're asking kids, and we have parents, single parents, that can't stay home from work. They have to work. They have to be able to put food on the table, a roof over their head, and they can't. And they have to stay home with the kids and teach them. They're not teachers. So I spoke to the governor about 2 weeks ago. I happened to see him. 85 districts are open in this state. 85 of the school districts are open, and Nashua isn't. So I don't understand why we can't figure out a plan to get our students back in. The parents who want their kids to go back in full days, I've said that before. Let's figure out a way to get them back in. And the parents who want their kids to remote, it's a lot easier to remote half the population than the full population. The teachers, if they're just doing straight remote, will have more time with the students. So again, I want to thank everybody for calling up tonight. And I've listened again to everything that's said, and I'm along with them. If my children were little, I'd probably be on the other side of the phone, upset just like they were. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Thank you to everybody who stayed with us so late. I know that these meetings can get very long, and it can be very difficult to attend to them for so long. I just wanted to remind people that we are having lunches available to all students. However, it would be very helpful if parents could fill out the free and reduced lunch form available on our the lunch schedules are also available on our website. And I just wanted to give a big thank you to all of the staff who have returned for a hybrid teaching, and all the parents who are sending their kids in for hybrid and hanging on learning. This is exhausting. It's a unique moment in history, and I don't know. It's really interesting. Everybody who's trick-or-treating this weekend, please stay safe. National Public Health has asked that we maintain social distancing and wear masks. Please do that. Get creative with your candy giving out. I've heard talk of, perhaps people in my household constructing a candy trebuchet or a tube or some other thing. So use this as an opportunity to Google and build. And I hope everybody has a pleasant weekend, and we'll be back again on Wednesday for policy. Anybody else? I see nothing.
Can I just say something?
Dottie, did I skip you?
Yeah, well, I think so.
I am so sorry. Yes, please, Miss Oden.
No, that's okay. I just want to thank the parents that called in. As a former teacher, I just don't, teaching first grade, I just worry about these kids learning to read. I'm glad that the kindergarten and first grade is going back sooner than later, but I wish more kids were going back. I know Dr. Mosley said he was going to look at 1 week in between classes going back rather than 2 weeks. I don't know where he is at this point. But quite frankly, as a resident of Nashua, I kind of find it embarrassing that we found a way to put our sports teams together in a very safe way, and they were able to have some type of a season for their sports, but we haven't gotten our kids back into the classroom for learning. I think that needs to have a very detailed plan, just like the sports teams had, and we need to get our kids back in school, because too many kids that need to be in the classroom are not getting that. There are kids that are doing fine with remote, and I'm happy for them. That's a really positive thing for them, because they have that. They wanted that option. But for those kids and those families that chose hybrid, I don't think we have served them well at all. And I would hope we would look closely at getting the kids back into school as soon as possible and put a high priority on that, just as they're now planning for winter sports. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dottie, and I apologize for missing you in order earlier. I'll have to fix my sheets. Okay, at this time, I am looking for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Oh my goodness. All right. I believe the motion was by Ms. Johnson, seconded by Ms. Giglio.
Okay, on the motion to adjourn, Raymond Garino votes yes. Paula Johnson,
Yes.
Sandra Ziem,
She's nodding, but I
Okay,
think her.
yes.
Oh,
Jennifer,
I'm sorry. Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No problem. Jennifer Bishop,
Yes.
Sharon Gilio,
Yes.
Jessica Brown,
Yes.
Heather Raymond,
Yes.
Dotty Oden.
Yes.
Motion carries 8-0. We are adjourned at 9:18 p.m.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
everybody.
Great night.
Good night.